DK, what do the Korean teams look like? What are they prioritizing in the draft? Who do they think is really strong? You know, who's first pickable, who has to be banned, and Lee Sin is going to be taken away from Lucid right from the get-go. That was the pick that he was able to make waves against Gen.G with.
Lessons remains learned. One of the cool things is that while I think AP junglers currently are top tier, there's still situations where we see tank junglers, Sejuani Maokai are still there, and Xin Zhao Li will always remain relevant as well, just by the virtue. And on this patch specifically, because Black Fire Torch isn't nearly as aggressive, AP junglers are still preferred, but they're not the only way to go. Another thing is that Skarner is expected to be a must-ban on red side. That is a very, very easy first pick on blue side. You can flex it between jungle and top. It's an immovable object in lane. Insanely obnoxious to deal with in team fights as well. And I would expect that to be the final banner for Hanwha, and otherwise I'm pretty sure DK is going to swipe that one up.
Yeah, it feels like a good Kingen champion as well. He is very strong at playing those team fights. Really amazing picks. Also, you think about his Zorn, right? Fantastic for laning, fantastic for team fighting. It's like the perfect Kingen pick. I think you just got to slam it here. I'm not really sure what else you would want to go for in this certain scenario, unless you really wanted to prio like an 80 carry pick for aiming or something like that. But let's see what DK thinks is the best pick to choose here in the B1 slot. It's got to be Skarner.
Yeah. Shouldn't come as a surprise. The Nidalee has been a extremely high priority champion as well ever since coming up during MSI. Canyon picking it in that TES series ever since. We've seen it be very often actually picked in those early rotations on red side. First up, Corki, another pick that I expect to be picked up sooner rather than later. Kalista, though, remains very relevant, as there is Peanut picking away the Nidalee here.
Yeah, I like it. And Lucid going to go back to comfort. It is Talia and Vi alongside a Skarner. Do you get to play the game as the enemy team if you're playing into that, is my question. I think the answer is no.
Yeah, not particularly. Really strong top side here. Vi, Talia in particular is a combination that obviously have guaranteed lockdown for the Talia. The skirmishing is insanely strong. It's really easy to make rotations, set up dives in side lane, and you have the best top laner of the current moment. So I think DK gonna feel great. Looking at the power picks though, Hanwha Life still gonna feel good. That Tristana Nidalee in particular, Tristana always has prio, allowing Nidalee to play a really aggressive game. But this is a really big deviation from the normal game plan of what we saw Hanwha Life have a lot of success with back in spring. And I think Zeka's Tristana also has been, it's been okay. But
yeah, I think it's
I'm willing
been
to
good.
trust him. It's been better than the Corki.
Yeah, I think in terms of stats, we always kind of lumped it in with like the melee like assassin types, and he was always better at Tristana than, as you mentioned, the Corki or other kind of like control mage stuff. We do like Zeka on the Tristana better than other stuff. It's not quite his Yone, not quite his Akali, but definitely with the meta where it's at right now, I think it's a good pick. And Cassante immediately gets banned away. I think that's a good choice. Definitely a common response, you could say. Another one of those broken top lane picks at the moment. Corki and Renata Glask also taken off the board.
Wonder if we are looking towards like a Zeri. The problem is that obviously with Kalista, the laning phase is going to be very oppressive. It's not where the Light traditionally excels, as it will be the Zac picked up here for Doran. Pick popularized by G2 at MSI and then kind of been adopted by everyone at the tournament. Really strong into tanks. Definitely not enough to deal with Skarner and his laning pressure, but will scale up and provide a reliable front line as the AD carry pool is wide open at this point in time as well. Jhin, I know, isn't the most popular pick, but I do think it actually works really well. This, though, I gotta say, if it ends up being the Xayah Rakan, I like the Rakan part of this. I think picking away Rakan from the Light, that part I'm okay with, but trying to pick Xayah into Nidalee and Xayah in general, I think is just not in the best of spots. It is an aim and comfort pick, and we'll see if that's enough to get them through.
Yeah, I mean, it gives him an escape if he gets himself into a weird spot.
When?
We oftentimes do.
When?
Sorry, not if, when. It does happen. Leona alongside a Kalista. That is it packs a big punch in terms of engage and in terms of a lot of CC between those two, and definitely can make some waves alongside of that. Definitely a lot of damage within that composition already with the Susana and the Nidalee, so just adding a lot of team fighting power there with that bottom lane.
By the end of the draft, both teams have drafts. I think they can be parts that they can be very happy about and parts that beg some questions. In the case of DK, I really am looking at that Xayah. How effective is that going to be? Particularly if you end up going for Lethality Kalista. Having Lethality Kalista as well as Nidalee and trying to play Xayah, that's a bad time, right? Xayah loves it.
Yeah.
You're playing these short-range characters into her. There are parts of that. This is, of course, a front-to-back teamfight come from Hanwha, but their poke can be quite strong. And that's why I think the Rakan-Skarner combo is going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting for DK. For DK, that mid-jungle duo looks incredibly strong. And while I think that Nidalee Kalista, or Nidalee Tristana, rather, can be really strong if you are able to set the tempo from the get-go and start invading, start roaming, doesn't have a lot of CC, and those skirmishes can be really hard to play out well. And Peanut on a hard carry pick, we know that he's made a career for himself doing this, right? But in the last couple of years, that's not who he's been. So we'll see how it ends up working out for Hanwha.
Yeah, I do like the idea, especially playing into Lucid. Just, you know, get in his face, get in his jungle, not allow him to play the game and say, hey, I'm the veteran here, I'm going to run the Rift. And let's see if he can do exactly that as we hop onto the Rift for game number 1. We got all the fans back here in the stadium. It feels so real as we hop into summer 2024 with match 1, game 1. Just the first of many to come. And it's a great matchup, DK versus Hanwha Life Esports. I said before, I do think that Hanwha Life Esports kind of have the advantage in terms of play styles, but I am excited to see how DK have developed over the summer. If Lucid can be a bit more consistent, if the teamwork is there, the communication that we lacked in spring, can they put it all together here for summer?
And if you missed the pre-show, you might be wondering, why am I looking at double PTA? Lethal Tempo is gone, no longer, no longer a rune, and PTA has become kind of the premier rune for AD carries instead. No longer gives amplification to the target, you know, so you can't use it as a support rune either, which we saw at times. Camille, for example, used that way back in the day, and that's not really a thing anymore. Instead, you get damage amplification for yourself, and it sticks around. Also does mean, most likely, that this will be the on-hit Kalista. Lethality generally still goes Hail of Blades, so not going to be the case right now. Another thing that I do think is interesting that I want to keep note of is where are these junglers pathing? Right now it looks both are heading towards the bottom half of the map.
You got Delight going in there, but honestly not the best trade. I think he's trying to enable Viper to also get in there and do Kalista things at level 1, but so far aiming on Kellen just fine, but trying to hit level 2 here, and Delight will be able to do that. He does take a big chunk of damage as he goes in and tries to make the best of that level 2 power spike, but doesn't amount to too much.
Yeah, I wonder if they want to set up for an early dive here, because this is some really aggressive trading by Viper and Delight. So might be looking to try and leverage the power that Nidalee has, and lo and behold, Peanut will get spotted here. Can Lucy get the smite? Knows this is happening.
Well, let's see how it goes. Peanut's getting in there. That is the smite going the way of Lucid, and he does get out. So Peanut will get in his face. He went straight from his red side jungle to Lucid's red side jungle, red buff jungle, and he's going to make his presence known, as we expect here on the Nidalee. A lot of movements around the map as now Delight's getting in here, level 2, and even an Ignite put into Kellen, just trying to keep up that pressure as much as possible.
Lucid being set behind right from the get-go. Very nicely done there by Hanwha Life. Very straightforward, right? Play around the prio that you have. Viper and Delight putting out a lot of pressure, and you're not really able to contest as Xayah Rakan early levels into Viper and Delight. Peanut gets an extra buff. Gonna find himself a small lead, and this Lucid is taking a bit of a gamble here as...
what's going on up in the top lane here? It is Zac, so he does get some regen back, but a very close trade after all, as Kingen getting in there with the shield. The top Skarner jungle debut is going to get the passive of Zach. Can he get the kill is the question. He's not even going to try for it. As a little hop comes in, that's going to force a flash from Showmaker. As both these teams, they came to play today. They're not sitting back and farming. They are getting in each other's faces.
Still a really big win here for Kingen towards the top side of the map. Proccing the passive is huge. Takes away a lot of safety from the Zek, and Doran is going to be forced to TP first. And then in mid lane, Zeka forcing out the flash from Showmaker. Gonna be big, particularly when you look at the fact that Peanut has been accelerated in this jungle matchup. Not having flash on the Taliyah means you're a lot more susceptible to getting found by these spares. And as mentioned, especially for champions like Vida, just want to get to 6 as soon as possible. Getting an early red buff is a really big win.
That's definitely very nice. As we do see some more trading up on the top side. Just going to be knocked to the wall just a bit here. Doran saying, okay, I'd love to take some trades. I am Zach after all, but we do see that Kingen is totally fine to do that as well on the Skarner. Feel a little bit bad for the production, by the way. We did see our very cool new graphic of the jungle pathing, and we were going to introduce it, and then the players just had to go ahead and fight a bunch, so we quickly had to bring that down. But I'm sure you guys will get another look at that. And speaking of which, here we go. We got another one. Jungle lane proximity. Where have they been, and where have they been near is the question.
Always love this kind of information. With junglers, as you can see there, for example, like Lucid trying to look for something, Viper and the Light, not gonna be found. Obviously, the top half of the map already being on the second clear, so you can see a little bit more heat there. One of the few downsides that you do have with Skarner is because you go Fimbulwinter. Right now, you're only sitting on a tier, so not the biggest of power spikes, as we do see Peanut again.
He doesn't need items.
No, he doesn't. and the payoff is also, as we all know, pretty monumental. But Doran is really struggling here in this 1v1, as very nicely done here by Hanwha Life, as expected, using the prio in bot and mid to set themselves up for an early dragon.
Yeah, it's what you like to see with the Nidalee, with the push, with the great trades from Zeka in the mid lane already, and the pushing power that he does have. So will be this early Mountain Drake going the way of Hanwha Life Esports right from the get-go. See a little push here from the DK bottom lane, and they're just going to go for a back themselves. But yeah, I mean, top lane's kind of in an interesting spot because we have seen, you know, a lot of different kind of options being opted into the Skarner. The Cassante is oftentimes answered pretty early on, but this time it got banned because they went for other strong picks with the Kalista, with the Nidalee, and the Tristana. So that gets banned away, and Doran's forced on Zach, and so far, as you mentioned, hasn't looked great for him.
I don't know if his passive is still down. Otherwise, they might look for a play towards top.
I think so.
Big thing here is that Viper and Delight have set up a freeze.
Oh no. Not the face check. Not the face check, Doran. Not this time, as he is going to go into the ult. But there's 3 people here. It's first blood for Kingen. And just like that, he is dead.
Oh, Doran. Your bot side has set up a great freeze. So even if Kingen heads down towards the bot lane, you will be in a great spot. And then he just walks in. And if you have passive, then maybe you can try and find a way to play around it. You can make something happen. That's not going to be the case, as we do see here for Lucid is pathing. Obviously, he was the one getting invaded.
5 seconds in the enemy jungle, so, you know, he tried. He got in there.
So I imagine that being in the pit for Grubs, it's like he's like walking in and pulling them, and then he's walking out again.
Yeah.
Or maybe the ward that he placed. We do see, unfortunately, here for Kingen, he is not having the best of times here, and this response is a little slow here, so really nice for Hanwha, allows them to get a little bit more. But still, this was a free kill being given over to the Skarner, and the one thing that I do want to be a little bit worried about for Hanwha Life is that if Skarner gets really accelerated and starts building these hugely beefy tank items, they are going to have a tough time chewing through them. Zeka is the only one, I think, that does a decent job if you get some acceleration.
Yeah. I mean, Skarner is so strong that, to be honest, you would need like a really quite fed 80 carry who scales really well. And to be honest, Kalista, as you mentioned, it's not really that. Tristana is, but it's going to take a while. And already with this lead for King, and it's looking pretty good. Already up 1,000 gold for DK. There was that one Drake that went the way of Hanwha Life Esports, and some nice aggression from them in terms of the bottom lane, and they got some plates, but that's just about it. So far, it does feel like DK are in control of this game, as now a little bit of a roam squad coming in here onto Zeka. We already have the stun on the rocks. And Zeka with flash available as Kingen going to, oh god, he's just gonna push him away, and Zeka just walking this one off, but there's 4 people here, and everybody's gonna get in there and take him down as they finally get rid of that pesky Tristana.
Tristana notoriously slippery there. Zeka able to withstand the first punch, withstand the second punch, but then by the time Lucid comes in with the ultimate, there's no cooldowns amazing. He did press R, and that's one of the reasons why the Vi has been so high prior for so long. It's because sometimes there's just nothing that you can do. Big thing as well is that because I think Viper was really looking for a back, got cancelled earlier on, so there wasn't really a great opportunity for Humble Life to push in side lanes, because a 4-man investment towards the mid lane of the map really is something that, if you can get a punish, not necessarily going to be worth it. As you can see here, I think initially they were maybe expecting a dive to come through, because they did actually spot Lucid rather early on, and then this is where Zeka's like, oh boy. Ends up getting the flash, ends up getting the ultimate, doesn't get hit by Kellen, but the outplay there by Lucid, by going in and pressing R, unfortunately can't outplay that one. Another kill for DK, so they're setting up, and let's not forget, this is what DK did a lot in spring as well, getting these mid-game leads. That we know they can do. It's about actually winning fights.
Yeah.
We'll see if that's going to be the case as we get deeper into this game.
It's going to set them up into a pretty nice spot, and to be honest, I think early on in a split, it can be really nice to just be able to get consistent early leads and just get ahead of your opponents where things might be a little bit rusty on both sides. As now we still have this pressure, but now TP coming in. Viper is in a lot of trouble as he is going to flash over the wall. He does use this barrier as well, but there's not a lot of places for him to go. He's getting poked down, and there is the knock-up as Viper will go down. Delight's going in, trying to peel for the team, but now he's got a flash out as well. And maybe he saves the rest of his team, but this is still a huge win for DK.
Meanwhile, Kingman also already rotating over. Doesn't get the Demolish proc, which always feels very bad. And Doran wasn't part of that whole sequence because he was pushing in the top lane. So at the very least, they were able to get a little bit in the pure 1v1. As the plate, I think, still standing as, yeah, four plates still up. So big win again there for DK. And even without aiming having his ultimate available, Humble Life overstep a little bit because they did spot Peanut rather early on. And as a result, that TP from Showmaker ends up being huge.
Yeah, it does work out excellently for him. I mean, he did have to flash early in his lane. He was getting pressured a lot, but the other lanes were doing so well that they were able to roam on up and help him out. Zeka backing on a ward here, but Helen also on vision. There will be a second Drake here going to the hands of Humble Life Esports, and you know what? Ox here on the analyst desk for day number 1. Nothing changes as we have a Chemtech Soul. The LCK remains the same with Ox in it. Such.
Already slacking. Yeah. As yeah, they see King and like, you know what? I don't think we beat him, and I think that was the right call. I think let it be.
Yeah.
Lucid also is about to get his team to 6 scrubs. This isn't necessarily the type of composition where the 6 scrub is going to feel as impactful as if you would have a Camille or a TF or a Tristana in that side lane. And the one thing I do want to give Humble Life a lot of credit for is that obviously the Drakes are nice, but with this Soul, you're like, eh. But the CSing and the amount of waves that have been dropped by DK in these rotations mean that the gold lead isn't actually that big. So we're still going to go in on relatively even footing. As here, it's just a nice punish as Lucid tries to get on top of Viper there, but Delight stops him from getting on top of him. But yeah, you're Kalista, so you're just like on the minefield and you're like, what do I do?
What do I do?
Where do I go? And yeah, honestly, Showmaker had his ultimate there. I actually thought that maybe they were looking towards it. And I think the DK in Spring would have. I don't know if it would have worked, but it seems like they've taken a bit of a slower pace.
A little bit more restraint,
Just a bit.
You don't, generally, in any game, even if you do have a lead, it can be very easy to throw it if you just say, okay, we are so much stronger than them, let's just send it, essentially. And that can get you into a lot of weird, funky scenarios where you get caught out and you fall behind and it gets very sad for you, but DK did not do that. They showed their strength, they got the little win, and they are building on it. So definitely a nice development so far. they should know that coming into Hama Life Esports here for match number 1 is not going to be easy. So certainly have their head on straight here to start. Hama Life Esports still some work to do. I feel like Peanut, early on, definitely putting on that pressure in the jungle, but since then, not able to do too much on the Nidalee. We'll have to wait and see how this does develop.
And part of that is because there's been a lot of pressure, and I think particularly that 1-2 of Vi and Rakan, you need to play very respectful. If you ever make a misstep, as that.
Yeah, speaking of which, I mean, they're just going to flash on him here, and they have so much CC. Zika just flashes away, though, but aiming, getting on in there, the double knockup from the side of Showmaker, and now DK, they finally get that pesky Tristana again on top of a turret, and DK are running away with this first one. Now we got the Impale coming in, as Viper does have Showmaker on him as well. Gets knocked into the wall.
He doesn't get the back game!
Into the air, and this is just so sad for the Kalista in this game.
And a high speed sequence coming through from DK. First, towards the bot side. That turret is long gone. Let it go. That kill, a lot is invested by DK. I think that might, in of itself, still be manageable for Hama Life. But then the kill in mid as well. Kingen is like, why did you give me Skarner? Guys, we know what this champion can do, and Viper, not having the best showing so far on Kalista, but you're playing Kalista into Rakan, Vi, Skarner, and Taliyah. Like that's not a good time.
Yeah, you don't get to play the game. As now, speaking of which, they try to rush onto the Rift Herald, and now Doran's just dead. I mean, he might go down to his passive here, but now you're down to Zac. The Zac isn't doing anything at this point in time. DK's still going to be respectful, but here comes Skarner. He's going through the wall. Can you get away from this guy? Is this going to knock the Leona into this one? Delight knows he's dead. He goes in, accepts his fate, and D plus Kia 7-0 right now, totally owning this first game.
Big thing again is that combo, the Taliyah with guaranteed CC, is so insanely obnoxious to play into. We saw this pick become an absolute top tier priority during MSI as well, and it's, again, we're seeing it here because the reality is that if you're CC'd, landing this is the easiest thing in the world. So Showmaker only needs is someone to enable him, and the entirety of his team is doing a wonderful job.
So at first he was just talking about Zac not having teleport, and then it's just talking about this fight, but curious, if you grab him, he doesn't have flash, and I will come over with the wall, is what he's saying, and Showmaker calls it, Kingen's like, all right. That's it. Just very nice call from Showmaker, makes the play. Kingen sets it up. Showmaker knocks it down.
And now, all of a sudden, Hama Life, when it comes to gold, not the end of the world, but they're down 7 kills, Valdez.
Down 7 kills, they're down 4,000 gold. They're trying to make a play here for this third Drake, the Chemtech Drake. And trying to set up soul point for the team.
Look at the Scorpion. Look at the vision control here for DK as well.
Well, they do have Kingen coming in from behind. They should know he is around. They got a ward down to spot him. As now Viper with the Mega Cone making his way over. Doran has to hop away. Oh, kind of a precarious situation for Hama Life Esports as they have grouped up as a team. An ult sent in, Delight not going to do much, and Kingen still threatening on the backline. Now Peanut is going to be able to land this smite, but what does this fight look like as Viper not able to play the game once again? Delight is already down, and this might just be a rout. Everybody on the side of Hama Life Esports just trying to run away from the side of D plus Kia. Even a wall coming in from the side of Showmaker. He wants more, and he will have more as Peanut doesn't do anything. It is a clean ace that comes down 17 minutes into the game.
DK, yeah, they lose the dragon, but I'm telling you, they do not care. Valdez, Viper doesn't get to play. Look at this. You can't collapse onto Kingen because it's Skarner. No way. Even with them knowing that he's coming, it doesn't change anything. And it's, again, so much work being done, I think, by Kellen.
Just look at Viper
creating space. I don't even, like, Viper's also in the grand scheme of things at this point is like 0-2 Kalista. So I don't think he's going to be the difference maker. But the problem is that once you start losing against a team with this much guaranteed initiation, where they can just chain, and playing onto them is hard because of the existence of this Taliyah as well. And you're playing into Xayah. Like, this is the situation where Xayah obviously is going to have the best time as, he's done the most damage in the game, Valdez.
Yeah.
I feel like we
Nice
learned.
Skarner.
We
Like-
learned why Skarner. We learned why Skarner should probably be Burmad.
Yeah, I feel like HLE Esports, they came into this draft and they had a vision of how it was going to look. They say, okay, we're going to give up this big prio pick. We're going to play our game. We're going to put on a ton of pressure and try to get really far ahead. Peanut's going to make a lot of waves early on, but honestly, I mean, you've got this Leona and Tazaya. It's not really doing much at all, and they had some pressure, but they weren't able to capitalize on it at all. So once you kind of lose a lot of that power from what you were drafting, it just feels bad. As now Lucid is going in. He got engaged on, but he doesn't care. He wants more blood. And it's just a lackluster move from HLE Esports, who don't have a single kill yet in this first game.
Still nothing for HLE. The Drakes, yeah, there's something. But
I mean,
it doesn't mean that much in the grand scheme of things. Even if you end up getting the soul somehow, you're going to be at a...
flash. Like, he has
Oh, he
flashes.
knows.
There's no point.
No, there's no way. At this point, obviously, it is going to have to be a colossal and consecutive sequences of mistake from DK to lose control of this game, right? You're up almost 9k gold. You have multiple Fed carries, incredible front line. As we take a look here, Lucid has faith in the rest of his team to come in. This Talia wall, level 2 on the ultimate. Showmaker flashing, and it's the cohesion on DK that I think is really impressive. And we talked a lot about Showmaker coming in, talked a lot about Lucid coming in, and I think Showmaker in particular is having a classic Showmaker game.
Yeah.
In his impact on the map. But I also got to give hats off to Kellen. I think Kellen has obviously been one of the most criticized parts of this roster, I think for very good reason as well. But his recall this time around has been everywhere where he needs to be, and it's making the game very hard to play for HLE. I wouldn't be surprised if DK is going to start up this Nash sometime soon and force HLE to either hard commit to a 5v5, which they shouldn't win. Yep, that'll do it.
Remember how the laning phase went too. I mean, Zeka looked like he was in a pretty comfortable spot. He was ahead about 20 CS. He got the flash away from the Talia. Things were looking okay, but unfortunately the rest of the team did nothing, and then he just got caught out a couple of times, and now he's just irrelevant. Like, he doesn't exist in this game. I forgot that Tristana was even picked. And now, I mean, what can you do? Down 10,000 gold, 21 minutes in. So we see a nice little item graph here of item value and see what they have picked up. Chronicler's already writing his POG vote. this game is over. You know.
Realistically, Valdez. So if
it's the way it is.
If the Nidalee was on the other team, then we could talk. But this time around, again, a lot of this comes down to the fact that what normally I think would be the HLE comeback win conditions, which is still a ton of team fighting power. You're playing into Talia and Xayah. Like, if they have their hands on the keyboards, you should not be able to get through them.
Again, like I said before, I think the only way they get through it is if they get a very nice early lead.
Yeah.
But everything just fell apart so quickly early on that if you don't get the lead, this draft just falls flat on its face into what DK have. So, ooh, that was close. The Light's going to walk it off. Doesn't seem to care. Still has that opposition up, and they're not going to ult onto him. So, good call as well, showing some more restraint from D plus Kia, even up this far.
Oh, you know King's going to solo this dragon. As Lucid will be in the area just to ensure that it won't get stolen away.
Wait, we got like more graphics here?
Oh, yeah.
The gold board?
No.
Okay, so there's 275.
So what I'm wondering is, what is that the kill goal for Hanwha?
Wait, but they have 0 kills.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting. Anyway, Zeka, he is going to get stunned up here, and you know that Showmaker, he wants more. He's having the game of his life, and Viper is just so sad in this game. He never got to play for even a single second. The Light's already laughing on the camera. They know.
They know this game is over. For HLE, you're going to be able to play on blue side. You're probably going to think twice about leaving open Skarner for the rest of the series, and I don't think this is going to throw them off too much. But this first game, DK coming out swinging here in the first game of summer.
Yeah. I mean, we can watch this again.
We're watching a replay, guys. They're like, what is it, 13k gold up?
Did Zeka dodge that, or was he charmed the opposite way from the seismic shove? That's like the one thing I'm curious about in this play, because the actual kills, you know, we kind of know where we're at right now. D+K are just kind of bopping them over the head with a giant sledgehammer. And yeah, they get the kills, they get the Baron, 24 minutes in. Don't need a Zyra jungle in this case, is now, oh god, Showmaker just flashing on in, gonna take down Viper as well. He's gonna be gone, and maybe D+K just try to end it here. I mean, they are so far ahead, they have the power, and Kingan's not even there. Doesn't have TP, he's just bullying Doran in the bottom lane, as he has been all game. Oh, well, that feels bad. All right, Delight. Okay, come on.
Delight.
It's over.
He got on top of Showmaker.
Nice try, nice try.
It doesn't matter, but he didn't. He didn't, Valdez.
Good combo. Nice effort. Kingan is still chasing him. What is happening? Okay, did they go too far? Zeka is full health. The flash on in mid-ultimate, and the knockup comes in. And that'll put the nail in the coffin on this game. I mean, as another knockup is going to come in, Doran flashing on in, does knock them together, but a double knockup comes in now.
Got a kill!
And Skarner just got here, as yes, they did get the kill onto the support, who has Warmogs. Okay, the game is finally over. 22 kills to 1. D+K come in and smash HLE Esports in game number 1.
DK coming in. Showmaker said, we are a different team. And I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to show you. And in this game 1, I'm convinced. I don't know.
They showed us.
I don't know if they're going to win the series. Obviously, Humble Life, they're going to go to blue side. They're going to have a pretty obvious set of adaptations.
Skarner will be the first ban on red.
Pretty obvious set of adaptations to make. But I do think it's noteworthy. DK wasn't able to take games off of Humble Life in spring. So this is the first win that they've had against them this year. And it is a win that team, because of the team comps, it was always going to be very snowbally, I think, one way or another. If Nidalee Tristana comp gets ahead, right? If Trist in the side lane, Nidalee is just throwing spears. That would be huge, but unfortunately for Humble Life, this first game not did debut you once when as Peanut actually ends up doing the most damage.
Yeah, he had
on
some
his
spears, I guess. Yeah, at the end of the day, in League of Legends, crowd control remains king. And if you don't fall far behind, you are going to win with it. And they got quite a lot in this game. We'll have to wait and see what game number 2 looks like in the draft and in the play, but Showmaker has let the show begin. And he'll probably be picking up the POG for this first one. But guys, we are done here for game number 1. We're going to take a break and have the space with Degon, Ox, and Huni to break down that first one.
형 공풀 되는데 한번. 네, 하자. 한대만 하냐?
나 여기까지만 하는데 이거.
아니 자크 개피야, 자크 개피야.
아니 얘들아 그만.
아 봐줘. 아이고. 아 칼리.
죽여.
갈리.
야, 자크.
자크 잡았어. 근데
가자. 할수 있었는데. 아베.
근데 이랬는데?
어때? 형이야.
이거랑. 야, 하나만.
왜 이렇게 잘하냐?
형이야.
Credit where credit is due. I do think Lucid had a good game. You know, he was in the right places at the right time, but he wasn't.
Sure.
He wasn't the main character. It was Showmaker, and Kellen, I think, is a cool hipster vote if you like throwing those out. Now DK.
No.
I am sure. No, they will. I'll
Ban
trust them.
Skarner, please.
They will know. They will be very aware of what just happened to them. I think the Maokai ban was also completely fine.
Look at this. I mean, you already banned Lee Sin in the last game, and he's like, okay, I'll just play Vi. So HLE Esports' response is say, okay, we'll ban Lee Sin and Vi. Because, I mean, they are on the blue side. They have some extra bans, but, like,
Yeah.
okay. A lot of respect shown for the couple of big picks from Lucid. Now, Maokai is also going to be taken away from Peanut once again.
Yeah, I love the Vi ban because I also think the Vi makes the Taliyah even more absurd. We saw that combo come out a ton in that game. There was a reason why this was also one of the best mid-jungle 2v2 duos that we had at MSI. There can only be one answer.
Yeah.
I know playing into Ashe is obnoxious. I know it's not going to be the best of feelings. But we saw what happened last game. And DK are just saying, it's fine. We can just play on blue side in game 3. As the Skarner does get locked in here for Doran. Now, Doran did have a pretty... I know.
It's so questionable
I know.
because you just threw Doran into a really rough spot. Now, okay, DK, I think the one way you can kind of salvage this is if you pick Asante in the first 3, and then kind of you have your own big OP tanky guy who does an insane amount of damage as well on the top side. But still, it's very questionable. I mean, Doran struggled a lot into this matchup, and you're essentially just giving him the underhanded softball throw by giving him the Skarner here. But, you know, fair enough. Peanuts in Italy is scary, and they're going to take it away. So Viego also going to be picked here from DK. So the third pick on the list of Lucid, alongside of Corki, which did get banned in the second phase last game. Ashe still available, and they're just going to give that over to HLE Esports anyway.
It is remarkable that with how strong AP junglers are generally considered on this patch, that we do actually see the Viego come out as opposed to a pairing. Now, if we look at what has been the most played champions of Lucid specifically, it does lean very AD heavy. There's some tanks which obviously he's not nearly as strong on, but he isn't really the guy to play things like in Italy. He has in his career, he's 0-3. So as good as he is on these AD skirmishers, AP jungler's not necessarily quite up his alley unless you want to go towards the Diana, but that isn't really a top tier pick at this point in time. So that'll be interesting for HLE. I think they're going to be feeling great with what they have so far. A lot of power picks already picked up here for them. And for DK, we'll have to see how they kind of round out. Because if you don't end up picking an AD carry here, oh, actually, yeah. No, good point. We saw this last game as well. HLE banned the Corki, even though a mid laner was already locked in, because you can flex him to AD as well. And Syndra into Taliyah feels great regardless.
Or TF.
TF for Kingen, I think, works as well. This is the one pick that we do see picked in the Skarner that actually has a decent time, and it was also banned last time around by DK when they did go for the B1.
Now it's left available, and DK will say, okay, we'll pick it here in this case. And, you know, already a decent amount of pick potential with the TF and the Viego. Doesn't feel quite as oppressive as the insane amount of CC that HLE Esports already have with their 3 picks. But can be nice, especially from ahead, for target acquisition to allow that Corki to blow people up. Jax is going to be banned here, as they do not want to see that in the jungle against the Viego.
It could also be a flex, right? The Skarner could also be flexed in the jungle,
True.
And you're playing into Jax, which is one of the few matchups where the TF can really struggle.
Seems like a good ban overall. The LeBlanc here,
Yeah.
going to be taken away from Showmaker.
Like, what else would you look towards here? Ahri is another pick that the Ahri Viego is a classic combo. There is, of course, Lissandra, but she's not necessarily in the best of spots at the moment, so I don't think we're going to go that deep into the champion pool. And of course, you can also still play Corki mid, but I do think that DK are going to be looking to have that in the bottom lane instead.
Ziggs banned away. We have seen this here and there. Saw it a bit in the LPL. Ziggs Leona, pretty nice lane for lockdown and allowing Ziggs to do what he can. But is going to be denied here from aiming as Azir. This guy has been in every meta, it feels like, and he will be here once again today.
Talia Azir going to be the mid lane matchup here. Nothing that we haven't seen before. Wonder if Showmaker is gonna end up going for the tank build, because they do lack frontline as of right now. Obviously, the Leona is still available, so Kalin could go that way. But Kalin, his strengths hasn't been the engage supports. I think his enchanters generally look a lot more consistent. So it will be the Kha'Zix to come through here for Peanut into Lucid, his Viego.
Yeah, definitely another pick that can get the snowball rolling if you do want to find an isolated target in the enemy jungle. Namely, Lucid, trying to make that impact once again here. Was denied as Nidalee, but going to try it on the Kha'Zix. As we do have the Leona pulled out here from Kellen. So we'll see how this works out for him. The Corki and Leona lane down on the bottom side to deal with Ashe and Alistar.
I really like Ashe as an AD carry on this patch. I think she's very strong as a sustained damage threat. One of the things to note, though, is that because you will be going for, you know, normal AD items, your arrows is going to be at a much higher cooldown than it would otherwise be. We've gotten very used to just seeing support Ashe who can just keep throwing out arrows. I think Alistar is solid engage, but I think Alistar alone can sometimes struggle in that if he goes his engage alone might not be enough. So a lot of pressure is going to be on Doran for that. The Skarner actually being in this game again, though, after that game number 1, I think is definitely a big surprise. And Doran had a really rough game 1. He's going to be looking to try and recuperate. As for DK,
he's put on the training wheels, you know. He's like, all right, well, I couldn't handle the Zac versus Skarner. Just get me the Skarner. And honestly, I mean, any top laner would like the situation, not just Doran after game 1. So, going to be feeling pretty good about his position there. It's not quite, I mean, it's still a hefty helping of CC, but with no Vine, that combo potentially not as bad as game 1. As a lot of damage here, a lot of pick potential on the side of D plus Kia. We'll see if they can get that ball rolling for them as we are ready to hop onto the rift for game number 2.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 미니언 생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
Fans are out here in force for day number 1 of the LCK Summer 2024. Game 2 here in this first match. And the first game was a stomp. If you guys missed it, you're tuning in late and you're coming in here for game 2. You missed D plus Kia, surprising a lot of us predictors going for Home Life Esports, not Chronicler, who was the genius on our list.
Don't do that to
It was
Valdes.
incredibly intelligent to go ahead and select D plus Kia. But that was just game 1, and we play best of 3s here. So see how game 2 does go.
I do remember back when he was on Gen G, every now and then, Peanut would also pick Kha'Zix, and he would never look like he really did a whole lot, and then he would win, right? And because of that, I want you. So Peanut's played approximately, around 950 games of competitive. 25 of those were Kha'Zix games. How high do you think his win rate on this champion is?
I mean, he played it on teams that won a lot, so it might not have anything to do with his Kha'Zix.
Sure.
And based on what you just said, you know, where he would not do much and then win anyway, I'm going to say a solid 61%.
88.
88?
88, Valdes! I
88?
I remember him playing Kha'Zix a decent amount, like, over the course of the 2 years on Gen G.
Yeah.
And I could never be like, oh man, Peanut 1v9 the game. And then every time I look, his record on the pick is absolutely impeccable. It's crazy. I don't understand it. 88% over 25 games on the Kha'Zix. We'll see. The Kha'Zix obviously ended up being a really cool pick that surprised many of us in the playoffs for LCK. one that was brought up by Canyon in Game 4 of the T1 Gen G Finals. Ended up being a very pivotal momentum swing.
Hey, guess what? Peanut did his red buff jungle, and now he's looking to invade.
This time, though, there aren't wards. Last time, DK was very aware of this happening. This time, that won't be the case. As he's trying to... Nope.
But he's going to start up the red buff here, and now Lucid is going to see this. As now, just going to get jumped on. Lucid, not going to be hit by that W.
Oh.
Going to help keep him a bit healthy, as this will come down to a smite fight, but it does go the way of Peanut this time. Even with vision here for Lucid, not quite able to match the burst from the Q and the smite of the Kazakhs.
Yeah, realistically, Peanut should always get that. We saw there, and this is the benefit of having two pushing lanes. Nicely done by Doran and Zeka. Very far up as... That's not DK Ghost.
Yeah.
That's BBQ Ghost against Samsung Galaxy
It's budget Ghost.
Ruler.
Yeah, that was also 2017.
Yeah.
Ruler was a world champion. Yeah, definitely.
Doran. He
Now-
took the turret shots!
Now, what in the hell is going on here? And he's just going to run away.
Yeah, but his wave
Skarner.
state is...
No, it's terrible. I mean, it seems like... No, I don't have anything. I don't know.
It's fine. I'll push back into it.
I
It's
don't-
okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's Skarner. He's just showing us how good the pick is. That was a little dicey.
What if, yeah, he's like so tilted from game one that he's like, you know what? I'm going to show everybody why this should not be allowed.
No. But that's a good point actually. Because one of the things with Doran that I, even for all his inconsistencies, have always given him a lot of credit for, is that he is notoriously able to bounce back from like a bad game to then having one of the Doran games where he just takes over and just completely 1v9s.
Yeah.
This one, the beginning of this, not giving me a whole lot of faith. As Ellen will get spotted.
Yeah. Zeka's in a good spot anyway, so Scanner's going to come down. Steelite just trying to push aiming away from this wave. Yeah, I'm not saying that he's definitely tilted. I'm just making jokes.
No,
here.
I know. Well,
and
he did take two turret
could be.
shots. So
you never know, I guess. The spot lane is looking just fine. There's a big wave pushing in, so aiming should be able to catch up. And should be... Actually, if he gets all of these, he might be ahead by one. Not quite, actually. Maybe a bit behind by one. Top lane still going the way that we expect it to. Kingen keeping his distance, takes a bit of harass from rocks and stuff like that, but then Doran takes a bit of his own.
big thing here is that because Kingen is TF, went for Ghost and Flash, so doesn't have TP available. So even though he got a really nice advantage with forcing Doran's teleport because Doran took turret shots, he doesn't actually get to capitalize on that, doesn't get a free back. So instead, he's going to stay in this lane and probably use his first ultimate to head towards. One of the things we haven't talked about yet that I do think can be a problem with the Kazakhs specifically is that TF's ultimate is really obnoxious for you to play into in mid to late game team fights, where I think Kazakhs normally obviously is an assassin that skills super well, as we do have a play here.
Zeka does have Flash, but he's just being CC'd to death. I don't think he's even going to use it. And down he goes. Kellen will get first blood, unfortunately, for DK, but it's still a win to take him down. A Flash coming down here. Peanut has to get away. Kingen thinking about getting on in there. He's going to flash forward with the gold card. And the follow-up comes in from Kellen, and that will barely be enough, although this is Skarner in the top lane, so yeah, goodbye, Lucid. Skarner just doing Skarner things. DK very flashy with their play, and still a big win for them.
Still a big win for DK, as you say, Valdez. Bit of a miscommunication there. Lucid was already backing off, because I actually thought that Kingen was going to flash.
Yeah.
And then Lucid backed off. I'm like, okay, they're not. And then they really committed. I'm not 100% sure if it ends up being worth it, because you do invest a lot of summoners here. Just getting the kill onto Zeka, I think, alone would have been big. The kill going over to Kingen is great, though.
How about that kill going to Kellen?
Yeah, that one you're not feeling too hot about.
First blood as well.
And there we saw a little bit of a miscommunication between Kingen and Lucid specifically. I do want to give credit, though, again for Kellen. Being very active on this map. First gets the play towards Zeka. as we do have King and maybe in some trouble here. Pretty low on mana is Doran, but...
Oh boy, here we go again. Flash knocked into the wall, and Peanuts right there, able to close the distance incredibly fast on that Kha'Zix. Some trading here in mid, but yeah, at least Life Esports able to trade back here early on and not sit on 0 kills for the entirety of the early game, as we saw in game number 1. And now Peanut is going to be able to roll that into some Void Grubs.
Also no cross-map available, because Lucid would love to go for a Dragon here. As, oh, there we see. A very nice job by the Observers. It's just timed out in that moment, the ward. So he's not really expecting it, doesn't see it coming, and then at this point, it's like, yeah, I can flash, but we all know that's not going to change anything. Kill not going to Showmaker or Lucid is actually big. And then here, we have Flash for Flash being traded. Thought that's the end of it. Lucid clearly wants to go for the grub, but King and Kellen have different plans. And then, unfortunately for Lucid, he's the one that steps up and promptly gets impaled, ends up dying, obviously not able to make his way back. And then here, the impale, you might be looking at that and going, should he really be able to kind of impale people that are, you know, just in his general vicinity instead of just in front of him? And I would say no. I know it's not the actual impale, but, you know, his E.
Yeah.
But that's how it works.
He does need, you know, he is kind of a newly revamped champ, so I think he does need like at least 7 or 8 ways to CC the enemies.
Fair
honestly.
enough.
Like,
does he die here? I don't know if he does.
I don't think so. But let's see. He's gonna get stunned up mid-dash, and now he doesn't have his flash, and he will in fact go down. So all of us crying about the Skarner, it's still going to be a 2v1 and a nice gank that does come in, and DK very proactive here in this early game, and they're getting some big wins from it.
Even with the Mercs, the combined damage of Kingin and Lucid is still going to be enough. Lucid also using his ultimate to make sure he doesn't get impaled. No opportunity for Doran to turn that play around. That alone means that DK is now maintaining that about 1k gold lead, aiming going. One of the cool things about Corki is that I feel like I've seen basically everything being built on him throughout. I've seen Triforces.
Yeah.
This is a just straight up lethality build. We've seen Collector first as well. This is obviously the opportunity. As we take another look at this, so start off, a lot of damage to come through, then get the interrupt here, does Lucid, and then just ensures that he doesn't get impaled and play doesn't get turned around on him. Obviously, even if you do get the impale, I don't know if that's enough. But at the very least, it ensures that if there was someone else there, he wouldn't get taken down.
It's a pretty good point. It's nice to see that interaction between Viego and Skarner.
I'd for some sums here.
Oh, I did see him.
Yeah, I mean, they should
coming down.
Realistically, yeah, there's Hawkshot used. They should realistically be dying, as Lucid might be in some trouble. Zeka and Peanut will be spotted here.
Yeah, just getting a little bit spicy down on the bottom side of the map. We do have TPs coming in from Showmaker, trying to get in position. Now, Ward is going to spot Kingin, who was on a little bit of a walk down, just in case things got a little bit more spicy, but doesn't amount to too much. Clearing out a lot of vision here is C plus Kia. In fact, they got a couple of scanners. The support in jungle going to clear out the majority of the vision here on this Dragon, and they will be able to prioritize this and take this down. Life Esports not going to try to fight for this one.
First Drake being taken at 11 minutes. Pretty slow is, I think, decently costly. Showmaker ensuring that he can actually get this, means that the wave will be pushed into the turret. And King is also going to have to sack his wave. As they read the play, Zeka was maybe looking for a roam towards that top side. So Doran gets the crash. Kingin will be denied a decent amount of CS.
Yeah.
Just making sure that the light doesn't get too easy of a back off.
It's true, though. I mean, we've seen, though, in the past, a lot of top laners just not respect, you know, like the pressure on the map and say, hey, my entire team is doing the Dragon. Maybe I shouldn't step up to this turret. Is a good read from Kingin. And even though he does lose some CS, as you mentioned, some farm, this is the better alternative to be able to just back away and not die. And we'll hold on to at least 3 plates for now. Viper does throw an ult into aiming, who does promptly just cleanse it. Cleanse very high value into this. As now, trying to get in onto Skarner, they will force the flash out of Doran, who will respect it. Doesn't have a lot of pressure from his team, rather, on the top side of the map.
This is very reminiscent of what happened in the last game, where DK is very happy to drop waves to ensure that they either get... In that game, was a lot of kills and rotations. This time around, it's the Grubs as well as the Summoners. I do think Grubs have higher value now that you have a TF on your team. even Showmaker, you know, in the side lane can actually get through turrets pretty quickly. But it does mean that aiming is going to have to sack the wave here. And you can see that Vision towards the bottom side of the map, fully in control of Hanwha Life. And even with Doran not having flash, that is still an excruciatingly hard target to dive, so I don't think there's a lot of opportunity there. With Kellen being in the vicinity, aiming should be fine, and we also see the bot lane of Hanwha Life rather opting into the back right now. As first item spikes about to be done for everyone here across the board, and a much more even game than game number 1, which is good. That was a bit much.
It was fun. It was fiery. I mean, I liked the energy that came out for the first game.
For first game?
Of the split, yeah.
Sure.
By the way, we got the update. Not only was Chronicler the only one to predict D plus Kia on our side, but nobody predicted D plus Kia on the Korean side either. So you are the sole predictor of D plus Kia.
I mean, they can,
out of all the talent.
They can still lose the series. Like, I haven't...
Did you read the script?
No. I actually, because I mentioned at the beginning, because Orcs was doing a little bit of slander, and I
mean, it's Orcs, so...
It is Orcs. That is what he does. So I think that especially the early weeks of a season after a big patch can always be a bit back and forth. And I also was both cautiously optimistic of DK being able to adapt to the carry jungle meta, which hasn't really been the case, right? Lucid's mostly been playing stuff he's been playing before as well. But then also not really sure if Hanwha could adapt to that. Right now,
I mean, the Impale's going to come in here. This is a bit risky into the Skarner as Lucid, yeah, he's going to have to flash away from that one. We have a stun coming down here with the arrow hitting Kellen. That was sent from mid. Decent amount of damage done into Doran, all things considered, but now Lucid is down a flash.
Big win for Hanwha Life. Able to get the summoner out of the Viego, going to take away a lot of his offensive pressure with that W. The initiation is still good here for DK, and they do have a comp that is somewhat reminiscent in that if you get CC'd by Kingen or Kellen, the follow-up is really good. And the DK comp obviously stands or falls by finding an initial pick and then going from there, getting the resets for your Viego. Whereas for Hanwha Life, you're going to be looking to utilize the strong front line of Doran and Delight, and then Zeka and Viper will be dealing all the damage in that one. And we haven't seen any 5v5s yet, and that's where I do expect Hanwha Life to take over the way that they did very often in spring as well. They're not necessarily the most proactive team, but if they get to team fights on not, what was it, like a 4 or 5k gold when we saw the first 5v5 in quotation marks last time around, they should be doing pretty solid, as we might have a scuffle here for Herald.
Even for the Scuttle Crowd, but Peanut not messing around with that. He will smite it down. And the Rift Herald is being eyed menacingly by Hanwha Life Esports.
Most sums up. Lucid doesn't have his flash. Doran will have his available shortly, but outside of that, a lot of cooldowns available here. I wonder, does DK actually want to go for it? Looks like they might instead just opt to shove. Maybe set up some priority surrounding the Drake as well, who's going to give over the Herald to Hanwha.
Well, they know that the Soul will be Chemtech with Ox on the desk.
Of course.
We'll see if they do prio that. As aiming, nice little dodge there. He still has his cleanse, but in a bit of trouble. He's going to cleanse the stun from dashing over the rocks. And that does save him in this case. So it's very important that he dodged the arrow. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the cleanse for the rocks, and he would have died.
As we do see Hanwha Life turning that play, even though they don't get the kill on aiming, into an immediate win. Get the first turret blood here. Showmaker will be able to answer, but that is going to be it as the rotation. Herald coming through to set up a dragon here. I do think DK want to try and play for this, though. They have a decent amount of vision, and they have TF, so can take control back, but not going to do it, not going to risk it, to use the gold that they got from the turret instead.
And it's a Mountain Soul, actually, this time around, so not going to be Chemtech. And both these teams have one Drake apiece, so we'll be fighting over those individual Mountain Drakes, you would imagine.
I hope we get spared Skarner with Mountain Soul.
Why? That sounds great. He's
No.
going to scale really, really nicely with all of those Mountain Drakes.
I don't want that Velda. You don't want. I know you don't want that either.
It's going to get really big, and he's going to stun people for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And never die.
True.
It seems like fun to me.
Challengers was ahead of the curve on this one. They just they just ban it every single game, man. I cost like
Imagine
12
that.
games, and in 12 games, you know how many Skarner? I'm pretty sure I saw 0. I'm pretty sure it was banned every single time.
Yeah.
But it's the, it's the early season. We're taking risks, you know. Maybe it's fine. Maybe we can just leave it open and deal with it.
I think that it always starts out this way with an OP pick, and teams are like, okay, we can deal with this. We prepared for this. We don't want to use all of our draft bucks on just banning it every time because that's also going to put us behind. So let's find an answer ourselves.
It's a rough economy, Val. That's can't spend those draft bucks.
A lot of draft bucks, and generally what happens is the pick wins a lot until eventually they do figure it out, and also generally some small iterations of patches come in and it gets chipped down a little bit, and eventually, you know, Skarner maybe in 5 or 6 patches will be obsolete. Or maybe he'll be like Cassante and he'll be here every single day for the rest of time.
We made it through
Eternity.
Aatrox being bad for like 2 years. I'm sure we can deal with Skarner collectively. At least he builds tank items.
He does, yeah.
That's something.
Okay, dashing in here, trying to get that assassination on the Viper, but he's met with a arrow to the face. Viper will just look them in the face as they do run away. Showmaker, meanwhile, pushing on the top side. We do have Doran on the bottom side of the map, but could see some action here. Peanut, obviously a lot of vision control. This is kind of what the Kha'Zix is used for with that first item, just clearing out all the wards. He's also got the scanner. He's also very fast with the brushes. As aiming has found Delight, and he has found a TP coming in here, and he has found his own death. So nice little capitalization. Delight hanging out in the jungle, and will take him down, as now Kellen might be in a bit of trouble as well. We have the flash of the Impale, and he will be able to get away.
Very telling that Lucid's just
For
like,
now.
no, I'm completing my back. I don't want to be part of this. As, oh, can they get reinforcements over? I think with Lucid there, they shouldn't try and dive this. Don't want to run the risk with these ultimates available. So not going to be the case, but very nicely done there by Hanwha Life, getting an exit kill. Delight finding his way around and aiming, unfortunately, not seeing the hidden cow coming, which does happen.
I mean, he must have been in that brush for quite a while.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how he snuck in there, to be honest. It was either from the mid lane being pushed up or the top lane being pushed up.
So,
because there were wards in the other brushes.
It's a win for Hanwha Life. They do invest a teleport though, and there was no objective, so just getting the kill, I think is debatable if that alone is worth investing that summoner, but we'll see if DK is able to leverage the silent pressure. They should have with this TF in a way that actually punishes the lack of teleports. The light goes in again.
This is a Leona though, and Kellen's totally fine to go for that one. The ult comes out, the arrow is going to miss. Kellen, or rather King in the front line, is just going to throw a gold card into Peanut and back away. Big skirmish here over the blue buff, which does go the way of D plus Kia.
Get the summoner out of Zeka. We'll take that as
It's Skarner. He's gonna flash away.
Yeah, there were 5 people there for him. Zeka doesn't have ults, and Peanut was like still around the corner. Maybe could have turned it around, but I don't think he wanted to run the risk. There's also no ults on Viper and Delight, so I think they'd rather play it safe as opposed to feeling sorry for themselves if the play doesn't end up working out. And most importantly, 40 seconds. This is going to be a really big fight, because if either team gets a decisive win, might even be able to turn it into not only a Drake, but a Baron as well. So both the two teams going to be trying and look for getting that dragon. And looking at the spikes, we have Fimbulwinter, Sunfire, we have Eclipse done for Peanut as well. Aiming sitting on double.
Delight in a very awkward spot here. I mean, he's just by himself trying to get vision or something. Nearly dies, has to flash away. Didn't have his unbreakable will at that moment in time, so no flash on that one, as now Showmaker has to flash himself away from the Impale, but now that's not going to be available here for this Drake, and now D plus Kia should be able to take it down. Hanwha Life Esports say, never mind, that was weird, let's just not do anything after that.
Not going to be getting a fight here, as their arrow is going to come in, but I don't think they're actually looking. Because Zeka instead just using his free grubs to push here towards the top side of the map. But with that, summoners are being traded, right? Doran has to flash, Zeka has to flash a little bit in the layup to the play, and then Showmaker also not wanting to get impaled. Probably a good call on that one is Lucid. They know. They are not going to get caught by this again. I don't think they can really do anything about it, though, besides waste a little bit of time here for Hanwha Life.
Yeah. Seems like Hanwha Life did not know that they were spotted. But with the scanner coming in and now a ward from Callum, they definitely know they're spotted. And they will just back out of here. Ian still doing the split pushing, and Delight is still hiding in the same bush. But
He's been on a lot of adventures.
okay, they're going to spot him here. Delight's in a lot of trouble. He does have his Unbreakable Will, and he is going to try to delay this now. Kellen also supremely tanky himself, and now TP coming in, and the big sweep is going to get Zeka, but now the Impale too! And that might just turn it around here for Hanwha Life Esports. They get that kill on Lucid as well, and we see Showmaker isolated. Viper pretty low, eats a gold card. Kingen getting in there, and the damage out of Showmaker and Kingen is not going to be enough with Peanut coming in. This should be a wipe in favor of Hanwha Life Esports. Doran still above half health and still totally fine. An ace for Hanwha Life Esports.
A lot of the damage dealers being gone. I don't think Hanwha Life can turn it into an immediate Baron, but still a huge win for the team. Currently down 0-1. A lot of engaged power being utilized there on top of an Alistar. And that maybe works out, but Doran is in the right place at the right time. You see the TP coming in. Hanwha Life know that they want to take this fight. And for a second, with that pick onto Zeka, it looks like it might be playable, but no, it's not. The double impale immediately ends any chance.
Did you see what happened to aiming? He Valkyried, unfortunately, towards the cone, which was, I think, not visible. Like, he could not see it. He Valkyried into it, and he gets caught. Like, it was so sad for him. I don't even really think it was his fault. Like, take a look at this. Valkyrie's away, and he's just...
Yeah, so there's been a lot of aiming diving into people. I think the hitbox at the tail end of the Impale, it does at times feel like his E. It's generous, you know. It's a Nautilus style of hitbox. That said, though, with aiming dying there, that immediately ends the play. They need to sustain damage, and Lucid obviously also not able to utilize the power of the resets. Really big win for Hanwha Life, and they're looking to bring us to a game number 3, slowly taking more and more control, building up these gold leads. And DK keep looking for these picks, but the only one that they can consistently find is Delight, who, FYI, hasn't died yet.
Doran's getting in there. He is going to be stunned up by Kellen, which is very nice, but Showmaker gonna eat an arrow, and now he is so dead. There's no hope. Although, no, he's gonna go down. 5 members here. The entire team just leaving him to go down as Doran's still charging on in. He is gonna catch Kellen, but that is a Leona. Might be trying to force the flash here, and they will be able to do that. So Hanwha Life Esports feels like they are so far ahead. I mean, it's only 3,000 gold, but a lot of that's in the TF, which hasn't really been doing too much. And as a team, Hanwha Life Esports have looked much stronger in these team fights.
I'm feeling really good about the odds of a Skarner ban increasing in
We said that after game 1.
Yeah, well, I know, but I feel like this time you really learned the lesson.
Yeah,
Valdez.
surely.
You know, fool me once, fool me twice. Don't you fool me 3 times with the same stupid Scorpion.
Yeah. If they fool us 3 times, we'll all just be sad. There's only so many things you can do into this pick. I mean, Rumble was banned, the TF was left open, didn't matter. Do anything.
And we're doing a lot of modding about Skarner, which I think is entirely fine and is also a shared sentiment across the League community. But it's actually being set up very nicely by Viper, able to... And sure, Showmaker doesn't have his flash available, so post-shuffle he is pretty susceptible to getting taken down. We do see that the follow-up from Hanwha Life is there. They are a really strong team-fighting team.
Baron.
Use that power. Baron,
Spotted.
mainly I think going to be a tool for them to get the fight that they're looking for.
We got the TP here. I mean, Showmaker's probably going to TP anyway for the Drake, as Doran is taking a decent amount of poke damage.
Just a bit.
From Showmaker and aiming. Lucid now just going to face check into this Kha'Zix, and he's in a bit of trouble. Nice knockup comes in. The arrow will be dodged, but Lucid's still in a lot of trouble. Kellen desperately trying to peel for him, and somehow he's still alive, but finally goes down as Zeka is traded back, but it's a 2-for-1 still in favor of Hanwha Life Esports. And now maybe they set their sights on that Baron.
Especially with no jungler being available. DK doesn't have a front line. Big Hanwha Life feeling good about their chances here. Doran and Delight still full health.
Yep. Impale available. Flash available for Delight. A lot of tools to try to turn this one, which they will try to do. Let's see if they can get through the Skarner health bar as Blast E into the wall, but this Baron is 100% HLE. Showmaker knocked up. And HLE Esports thinking about going in there once again. A lot of damage done by Showmaker, but they already got the prize, which was the Baron.
Lucid having a much worse time as a Showmaker trying to get, or a King and Rather trying to get the spell shield into combo with his card, not actually going to find it, and they're also going to get the Drake, and this feels like this game going the way of Hanwha Life. Also credit, I think, Delight and Peanut. Again, it's the mid-jungle, or the jungle support rather, that we talk about. Delight being very proactive, consistently finding these picks, and Peanut actually utilizing his gold very well. Hats off to him. Again, the win rate of this guy on Kha'Zix is absolutely ludicrous. And in this game, he's showing why, with an incredible amount of damage being done consistently to the DK members.
Yeah, just an insane amount of control. And then when you find your moment to hop in and do a lot of burst damage, you're just so good from the jungle. Feels like what the jungle role should be in terms of kind of supporting your team in that aspect. As we take another look at this team fight and the way it wins. I mean, Lucis is trying to get vision, but he also takes a huge chunk from the Kha'Zix, and that's not the way you want to start off the fight.
And then you have the follow-up immediately. Zeka has a nice angle. Very, very unfortunate hop over that wall, because if he just clicks a little bit closer, he's safe, and they don't run any risk. Ends up being still a very favorable trade, and without the enemy jungler gone, there's no way for DK to reliably contest, especially not with the Scorpion standing guard. And right now, we got into the Kingen, bought a shield bow, which I guess it'll help.
That is a choice.
It's definitely it's definitely good into specifically Peanut, but I would much rather see some form of, I mean, most likely Terminus just to get through Doran, because I do think Doran being as tanky as he is has been a big problem. As we do have a flank here set up for DK.
Yeah. Ash Arrow is down, but now Kellen's kind of in an awkward spot because they've all rotated up to top. So, I mean, this is just a Leona who's level 10. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to, yeah, he's just going to back. And so the push continues. Well, he stops his back, and he is in a very sneaky spot. I mean, is the team going to be able to follow up on this, though, is the question. Zeka gets a wall down, and they're just all in the top lane group, so that flank doesn't do anything, as the Baron push is going to take down this inhibitor. Now trying to engage right from the front, just going to throw in a solar flare and back them away, but we still have this inhibitor going down. HLE Esports increasing their lead.
And from this point on, Hanwha Life should just be able to play it out cleanly, don't really have to run the risk. The only way you lose this if someone oversteps, get hit by a gold card into Leona stun, into Lucid, getting some resets, but isn't looking very likely right now. Hanwha Life about to bring us to a game number 3. Peanut's waiting, he's level 16. He's a very dangerous bug.
He's definitely looking for the TPF as King, and he knew. He had his gold card ready right away, and he's going to stop that. But still, very dangerous bug, as you mentioned. 3.5 items from the jungle already.
Yeah, he's about a 40-second cooldown on his ult, so
yeah,
not going to be feeling too bad about that one. Doran?
Okay, they're trying to kill the Skarner.
Still trying.
They almost got through the shield, guys. They almost got the shield. Okay, the damage goes in on the King, and the Impale is huge, as Skarner is always able to turn it around so quickly. Still getting to work here on the Lucid. They send it for one final attempt to try to catch Doran off guard. They get the kill on the Viper, but that's going to be it. HLE Esports have run away with this game, as these two tanky boys just sprinting at the Corki, who cannot do much at all. A TP in the top lane, as they're looking to try to end it through that push.
Lucid, 3 levels down. I don't think he's going to do a whole lot. Tries to get an interrupt on Zeka. Doesn't end up mattering. Zeka will just jump off, but it looks like we are going to a game number 3, Valdez. Hey, it's Skarner.
It's fine. I just thought maybe he would knock a stun up or something like that. As Aiming is in a lot of trouble. He'll be burst down by Peanut, who had a fantastic game. As this Nexus will go down, HLE Esports force a game number 3 just like that. As this one looks a lot different to the first game we had in the series. And they turn things back, they tie it up.
Not sure who flashed the Gen G sign there, but very cute. Imagine it was one of Delight, Peanut, or Doran. As HLE Life bounce back, and obviously the main talking point is going to be that Skarner, but I also want to give credit. I think the light looks a lot better. They didn't get sucked into these early skirmishes. That I think DK is always going to be looking for. That's what they love to play in spring. And the biggest surprise to me was that DK was not only given it, was able to actually close it out, but Hanwha this game pulled it back, played it a lot slower, a lot safer. As a result, gets a pretty resounding game victory here.
Yeah. You know, still a pretty back and forth early game. There were some nice moments for DK, but at the end of the day, Hanwha Life Esports very nicely done to pull it ahead as Skarner does the most damage in the game. Anyway, we do have a game number 3 on the way. A very linear gold graph you could see for the side of Hanwha Life as they do excel up to 9,000 gold ahead. As Doran feeling a lot happier, you might not notice it on his face, but very happy with the way Game 2 wins compared to Game 1. So we're done here on the cast for the second game. We're going to take a break and have the space. We'll be right back.
할리야 공 있어.
끊기고. 나 타워 칠래?
아 타워 치자. 끝낼 생각하자 얘들아.
뭐야 이거?
타워 쳐줘. 아 얘들아 타워 쳐줘. 타워 쳐줘.
10초 레오나 10초.
아 괜찮아 레오나까지 괜찮아.
스페 10초.
타워 쳐 타워 타워 타워.
넥서스 넥서스.
타워 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 타워.
야 맛있다. 다음 판도 잘하자.
나이스. 아직 마음이 아팠어요.
Do it. And I don't know. Let's see. As Maokai is going to be banned here first, and that's fine on the blue side. Lee Sin.
Also want to echo what the Space was saying earlier, which is that the Nidalee ban feels like a real throwaway. Peanut did not look impressive on the pick. Wasn't really able to make it work. I think Peanut being on Kha'Zix also gives you very different team fighting setup than it does on the Nidalee, right? I think Nidalee specifically is such a hard champion to make work in team fights, and there are like, what, 2 players that have made it look good consistently, which are Shun and Kenyon, which
They're pretty good at the game in
they
general.
Are pretty good, and they're also...
They could have been playing any champ at that point.
And they're also on the respective 2 best teams out of the 2 best regions.
Yeah.
So, like, it feels like a no-brainer. And here, the Ash ban is interesting, because that was actually Hanwha Life's final ban.
Yeah, it's kind of given them a great opportunity to go ahead and ban Skarner.
But what if we didn't?
Yeah, I mean, what would you ban here instead of
Rumble?
I mean, we haven't seen a Rumble ban, we've seen a TF ban, but why would you ban TF if you wanted to play it? Lucian!
Okay, that's got to be the casters as well, going like...
Oh yeah, the Korean cast is going absolutely wild because they wanted a Skarner ban, as did we. Look at King, he's like, yeah, I guess I'm playing Skarner. Is it, you know, more egregious even than no way? No way. All right, Chronicler, take it away.
I wanna reiterate.
Bring back that old.
I'm a big fan, right? A big fan of Lucid. I think he's a great player. I think that we've seen, even though his last game wasn't necessarily the greatest. I think he's had a lot of great moments in his career in challengers. A lot of highlights, some lowlights as well in the LCK. But he's not the Nidalee guy. Peanut's Nidalee wasn't great, and these games have really felt like a lot of it has boiled down to Skarner being really broken. There's a lot of other factors, right? There's the picks, there's the bot lane, there's the jungle matchup, but I, in good conscience, cannot comprehend. And the amount of pressure that's going to have to come out here from the DK mid-jungle duo is going to have to be exceptional.
Yeah. So this is what I was talking about in game 1, where I was like, okay, well, you leave up the Skarner, Cassante is an option into it just to kind of handshake a bit. They're both really OP tanks in the top lane. But Cassante was OP, a bunch of patches ago, whereas Skarner's the new OP. So Skarner still wins in terms of that matchup. Showmaker's hovering a bunch of fun stuff. He's going to pick Tristana. Not a big surprise. Not a whole lot of CC with Tristana and Italy once again. But at least they do have that Cassante in the top lane.
Trying to fight. How far have we gotten in League of Legends that it feels like Cassante isn't the real bad guy? It's no longer Cassante.
Well, not anymore.
Well, yeah, well, he was the last tournament, but right now he's not. Right now there's a new enemy, and it's Skarner as Peanut. Again, will go to his Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix versus Nidalee as well really feels like one of those matchups where if you do get ahead, it becomes unplayable for the opponent. And particularly, Nidalee obviously is going to have a much easier time getting through a jungle earlier. Should be able to generate a tempo lead through that, generate a farm lead. That alone is not going to be enough though, especially once you get to post 6. If you ever walk into the Kha'Zix as Nidalee, you're just going to have a very unfun time. I'm talking about a bunch of other stuff, but obviously the main question is going to is Lucid getting Nidalee going to be worth giving over to Skarner? Our initial instinct is like, absolutely, in no way.
Yeah, no way. I think the biggest thing for me is that Doran looked so weak into the Skarner matchup in the first game. He pulled out the Zac, the TF was banned, and it kind of showed a big weakness already right from the get-go. And as DK, you had an opportunity. You're the home team for this first round robin against Humble Life Esports. You get blue side twice. And you had such a great opportunity to recreate what worked out in game 1 so well when you absolutely stomped the team that you didn't win a single game against in spring. But
all right, King.
Excuse me.
It's fine. Cassante will reign supreme. We're also having again DK wait until the final rotation on blue side. This Zeka on these type of mages, he's fine. I think his Azir is like the one that we were most positive about.
Yeah.
I don't think by any means.
His Talia was like up and coming as well a little bit.
Okay. Ziggs and Nidalee combined, I think that's a good combo. I personally wouldn't even hate something like the Ezreal. I do think the matchup is quite tough though. We'll see what aiming ends up picking here into the Varus. Obviously a lane bully, not quite to the same level that the Kalista is, but still has to be very much respected. This is very much up aiming's wheelhouse, but like this composition to me, what does it do? Like,
it's very mobile.
It's very mobile. There's a lot of ability,
a lot of damage,
a lot of skirmishing power as well.
If you get ahead, it'll feel good. I think from behind,
go like
it's going to struggle a lot.
Nautilus, I imagine. Also don't want to give Nautilus over to Humble Life, so Nautilus does make sense. A lot of point-and-click CC with that Nautilus, but outside of that, or I say a lot, obviously his auto as well as his ultimate, but outside of that, pretty mediocre setup for the Nidalee. We'll see. I think Humble Life look at this and go, guys, we have Doran on what looks to be the strongest pick on the patch. We have Delight on Engage support. Zeka on, yeah, sure, maybe not his trademark, but we know he can pilot a good enough Azir. Peanut on the pick that I'm now, at this point, it's probably up to 89, maybe 90% win rate.
Yeah.
And Viper on Varus, which is good. It's good. It's Varus. We've seen this pick be meta for like the last 2 years as well.
Yeah.
It's done the same thing this whole time throughout. It's got to be a lot of heavy lifting being done by this Nidalee pick. This prioritization puts a lot of faith into Lucid For DK, I was going to say DK predictors, but it is
That's
just,
Lucid right there, by the way.
but it is just me. Well, he's gonna have to have that dog in him, and he's gonna have to make a big impact on this Italy, because otherwise, if the Skarner gets the skill up the same way they did in the previous game, I don't think the poke is gonna make a big difference. Not in my life. Probably gonna be looking at this draft as well and go, we got everything we wanted. This is peak. As long as they can avoid the early snowball. That's the one thing I think D plus Kia do have. Both Nidalee and Tristana, if they get a lead, they take over games very, very quickly. Is that alone gonna be enough? I'm not so sure, Valdez.
Skarner versus the world once again. DK opt into it, and we'll see if Lucid can take over the game. Let's hop onto the rip for game number 3.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 미니언 생성까지
All right, here we go.
30초
Game number 3. And DK, they have challenged Hum Life Esports finally for the first time this year. They've taken a game off of them. And now they're looking to get a bit aggressive with this Nautilus pick. Is that a new Nautilus skin?
I think it's Fright Night. I think it's not super new, but it's
I feel like I've never seen anyone use that one.
it's usually always the you know, the underwater mech one.
Yeah.
That one is definitely the most popular.
Or even just the base one.
Yeah.
I feel like it's relatively common.
We never see Astro Nautilus, which is so sad.
Yeah.
'Cause it's so fun.
Yeah.
So Lucid will be, if I'm not mistaken, that is the Canyon skin, which
Yeah, I mean-
you have to. You don't really have a choice.
You have to, because you kind of have to channel the Canyon energy, right?
do.
As kind of the
I-
younger brother of taking Canyon's spot and playing his pick that he has a skin on.
I'm still such a firm believer that his Nidalee pick is just bait. Like, even at MSI, I felt that way. It became a really big and important pick for that tournament as well. There's been so few games where I feel like it's been the big difference maker, because even if you do end up getting the most out of the early impact, which is in of itself quite hard, particularly against a jungle like Peanut, who defensively has been part of, I'd say, the most iconic Nidalee game in recent LCK history, which was the Game 5 and well, it was Game 5, right? The playoffs between DK and Genji, and then they got 10k gold behind, and then
I think, yeah. Pretty sure it was, yeah.
The day that Atlas lost his hair.
Yeah.
That was Peanut. That was him. He was there. So Lucid is gonna have a colossal task here, and ideally with Nidalee you want things. The Redaction is obviously the most obvious example, where it makes it really easy to consistently hit spears. You have that in the bot lane. Khaled will definitely supply that, but I think even champions like Cassante, Cassante's CC is incredible, but it does function differently as the ward will.
He saw that, though.
Yeah, he saw that it went out, and it shouldn't really matter. And we saw this as well when Peanut did the same thing to Lucid in game number 1. So this, particularly with the bot side prio, is still going to be a win for DK, and it will delay Peanut to his crucial level 6 spike. And finally, Lucid gets to return the favor after 2 games of not getting his buff.
Yeah, still going to feel very nice. Peanut does avoid the kill, but he falls behind, as you mentioned. This mid lane does feel like it's pretty even at this point. Showmaker trying to put on as much pressure as possible. Allow Lucid to be as safe as possible as he does go for the invade. I'm curious about aiming Zeri. Definitely has been a big pick for aiming for many, many a season after Zeri did come out, through the OP times and the decent times as well. Showmaker just continuing to get very feisty here in the mid lane. But yeah, not a lot of point-and-click CC, but still a ton of amazing CC that is not point-and-click. You've got Rel, and of course you've got Skarner. So can aiming avoid it on Zeri when he couldn't on Corki? That's going to be one thing I'm looking forward to seeing in this game, as once again we do show off our new jungle lane proximity maps there.
Showing a little invade that was found by Lucid. Peanut still was able to pick himself up an early scuttle towards the bot side of the map thanks to his bot lane getting prio. So what happened was aiming and Kellen got the shove in, right, crashed the wave, and then Kellen went for the invade to ensure that Lucid could take the blue buff. And Aiming went for a back, got a cheater recall off, and picked up a call. So we'll be scaling very nicely into this lane, and really realistically with the Zeri, you're just looking to get through, like get to level 6, where you do obviously gain a lot of all-in power and scale towards those later stages. We'll also see if Aiming will be better equipped to chew through Doran. One of the things in the last game as well is that as strong as Corki is, he's also was building full lethality into into attack, which obviously
into the god himself,
into
Skarner.
The Scorpion King.
Yeah. Callan, that was not it, but it's okay.
It's fine. Delight was
Jonah
like,
Strong giving him the
oh.
the BM zoom in.
And then Delight also not hitting his Q, so they can't go for a great trade back.
Yeah.
Both supports having a little oopsie there. Do have Peanut towards the bottom side of the map. And we do, as expected, as should be the case, very early on. And these Drakes need to be taken. The Grubs and Drakes need to go to the team with Nidalee. That is kind of a no-brainer when you're playing with a jungler like this. If you don't, and even if you do, we saw in game number 1 that just getting the Drakes by itself not enough, but you need to pick up these early objectives. We do see with Showmaker also applying a ton of pressure in mid, they should be able to do so. Grub spawning about 10 seconds. We see Lucid waiting right now, setting up some traps, setting up a little bit of vision, and then I imagine making his way over.
Yeah. Just checking all the boxes before he does go for that objective. We're not getting big plays from the Skarner just yet. In this one, he does have to deal with K'Sante, who's also very sticky in his own right in terms of not being pushed out of the lane very easily. Peanut going to be spotted here, but there is no vision on the Grubs. Will Peanut read it and go for the Dragon? Now with the Nautilus on a back, could potentially try to just go for it right now, but there's vision on it as well, and might be a bit risky here.
He's also not 6, and this is where the buff still comes in. Lucid also obviously being able to pick up an early Grub, or rather all the Grubs, but just one Grub will get you the experience. So you don't have the Q evolve, so actually getting through the objective takes a lot longer than it might otherwise be the case. I do think there's still a window here as Delight is making his impact known around the map. I wonder if they were maybe expecting a possible invade from Lucid, because it feels like Viper or Delight rather is kind of sweeping around. But no Nidalee is waiting there. Lucid just went to his own jungle. Now the Drake gonna be the next thing on the mind of DK, as should be able to get the crash here onto Viper. I don't think he's in any threat necessarily, although King does just hit level 6, but with no 6 for Callan, I don't think they want to run the risk.
Yeah. See, Dora gets back to lane. Looks like he's on full health. Kingan also doesn't have his TP, but he's not winning these trades. Again, it feels like picking K'Sante into this is kind of just saying, okay, well, I'm going to try to not die, and I'll be kind of a similar threat in terms of what I can do in team fights. You know, kidnapping certain champions into your team and creating a lot of space, as we know K'Sante is able to do. But so far, definitely a lot less action in this third game compared to the other two. I feel like both teams are really wanted to get into the action quickly in game number 1, but slowly they've iterated down to being as careful as possible.
Should be in the favor of Honma Life, realistically, given that they are the game with a much better track record.
Uh-oh, a little bit of a play here. He's under turret damage, Doran in a lot of trouble, but he's got Peanut nearby, and now the Impale comes in, and a chance to turn it as the flashes come out from both top laners to get away from that play. Kingan bringing in the flash in this lane, and it's going to work out very nicely.
Really big there from Doran, because if he doesn't flash that Q and ends up going down, even if you end up getting the even trade, like the cross map for DK is already in place. We see Lucid went for the second invade on the blue buff. Do you think that they need to actually go for this Dragon? Hasn't been the case just yet. Should see that being started up soon, although Lucid might be looking here. I don't think the Honma Life bot lane is going to be that easily foiled, and should be starting up. It is relatively late though, 9 minutes in before this first Dragon is going to get taken. Mountain also a strong soul that I think you wouldn't feel bad about getting. Peanuts.
Peanut's in so much trouble. He's going to try to hop away from this one, but flash on in from Showmaker. He's got the hop here as well. And Peanut with no flash available. That will be first blood over to Showmaker, and a red buff to boot alongside of this Drake. Nice setup here from Kellen as Peanut on no vision tries to get on into the bottom side of the river.
There's no reason. You know that dragon is being taken. You don't have any control of the area, so Peanut, big mistake there. Already falling behind, obviously, a little bit.
He's even spotted on the
Even
control
check
ward.
the brush.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, Kha'Zix has a lot of innate safety into many picks, but Nautilus is like one of the few where if he presses R on you, it doesn't matter if you're stealthed. Showmaker making sure that this bug does not slither away back into the jungle. We do have the gold lead now starting to build. This by itself, I think, not enough for DK. I do think we need to see them accelerated from here on out. But Showmaker and Lucid both getting ahead is what the game plan needs.
Yeah, definitely does. Is this Scorpion an insect as well? Do they have bug synergy in the top lane and jungle?
Yeah.
Does it count?
I think, I feel like every time we pose these questions, biologically, we're just not well enough educated to know whether or not it's really true.
Yeah.
But I imagine aren't scorpions in like a similar vein as like crabs? I feel like they have similarities.
Ooh.
The problem for me...
That's rough.
The problem for me specifically is that I know a lot of the words in Dutch, but not in English for like types of animals. Because why would I?
What do you mean?
Which isn't very helpful.
You got to know this when you're casting Skarner and Kha'Zix. Doran did miss his Impale on the top side of the map. It was pretty close, though, especially with Skarner, and it feels like the leeway you were talking about before generally. Yeah, Kellen does see him, but doesn't really care. Scorpion is apparently an animal, Ji-Sun told me, which is not an insect, but it's related somehow. So yes and no. Let's say yes.
6 crops gonna get taken here.
Okay. Kellen, man, he's come in here. He's looked pretty good on these engaged supports today. That would be a big development for DK if he could really get consistent on those picks.
Again.
Lucid. Okay. Well, he's going to spot this happening and should stay safe. And I think he got that one.
I think he got the big one, but not the small ones, based on the CS numbers. Not 100% sure. He definitely wants to clear his jungle and get us back in ASAP. Now 6 crops being taken. Infernal is actually a little rough, I think, particularly with champions like Nidalee and Tristana getting an Infernal Soul would be absolutely huge. As, ooh, maybe we have a bit of an angle here. As the problem is that this is still Skarner.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, he's going to try to grab him through the wall, straight into the hands of the Nidalee. Is it enough? Is Doran trying to get away through the terrain? And he will for now, but it is Nidalee. And he's going to miss the spear. Seemed like a pretty free one there, but Lucid, he wants this kill, and he will pick it up with the E, just slashing ahead of him to get that kill. He was getting a little bit close there. Was getting scared for him, but he does get the job done.
Also towards the bot side of the map, Peanut forced to ult defensively. Lucid, yeah, that miss on the spear. I imagine he was trying to predict, you know, the Doran stepping back, and Doran's like, I don't do fake outs.
Doran doesn't do that, no.
I am running to my turret.
100 or 0.
Fortunately for Lucid, still ends up getting the kill, so not going to be feeling too bad about that one. I don't know how much gold he's sitting on, but that Lich Bane for sure is going to be done. Now we're also getting to the point where these coals are going to start kicking in, so actually a lot of gold that is going to be available here for DK. As we're taking a look at this, really this feels like this is League of Legends top lane, man. Terrain isn't real.
Yeah.
Everyone can get for everything. Lucid there tries to hop over the wall, doesn't hit it. Then fortunately he does hit his flash, otherwise that would have been a complete disaster. Yeah, that would have.
Imagine if he missed that.
The flash, yeah, that would have. And then Doran gets out. That would have been a real tilter. Doesn't end up happening. Kellen, he's in the vicinity.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting, though. I mean, you know, we talked a lot about the draft because obviously pretty controversial to just let the Skarner go by and to pick the Nidalee instead. But so far, you know, I'm not sure how it's going to look later on in the game. And we know what Skarner can do, right, in the team fights and in terms of ulting 3 people and being very obnoxious. But at least it looks nice, especially when you have some CC on the top side of the map to actually punish this pick. So all things considered, you know, not so bad. So just yet. I don't want to say that it's a good idea to do this every time, but could be a potential answer that we see in the future as well.
Skarner responsibly is what Veldis is saying.
Yeah.
You know, leave him open.
Something like that, yeah.
Herald. Be aware of the risks that you're taking as the Herald fight should be imminent here. First item spikes done, basically across the board, except for the supports. Right now, control, and looks like Hanwha Life not even going to go for it. Instead, just opting to take down that bot side dragon Hextech. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
That one is going to be fought over, as we are simultaneously taking the Herald and also kind of maybe looking for a bit of a play towards the top side. That's not going to be the case. Kellen is behind enemy lines. TP's coming in.
It's just going to be a straight up 5v5, but as you mentioned, Kellen is all by his lonesome, and he's got a Skarner coming over the wall. Meanwhile, the rest of the team, Peanut and Delight, are just kind of hanging out, trying to threaten the smite steal, but already Kellen goes down, as it will be this objective going the way of DK, but Kingen goes in and kind of just sacrifices himself for the eye, which he does pick up, but it's a second kill here to the side of Hanwha Life Esports, and all things considered, kind of a weird trade up on the top side of the map.
You take that 100% of your Hanwha Life, right? You get 2 kills, you accelerate Peanut, you accelerate Zeka. Just giving up only a Herald, which will probably end up being the mid lane turret, but...
And they're getting more.
Yeah, oh god.
Okay, well, this wasn't it. Just kind of close your eyes. Kellen is going to flash over, though, and he will get away.
Yeah.
He does have to flash for it,
So,
and he does look very silly, but he lives.
It must be just a complete misread of where Hanwha Life was on the map. So I imagine they thought that Hanwha backed, and then 2 people would stay top push, and then the rest of the team was on a reset. What ends up happening instead is it just takes the gate, which obviously ends up backfiring immensely. It'll have Hex Flash, but still, it's a really big win. Hanwha Life gets basically back to gold parity, and here the big thing is that Kellen just gets found. I don't even think that Zeka necessarily knew he was there, but the big power of Doran is that he very easily can just make his way over. They have more than enough damage. It's a level 7 Nautilus. If he's not engaging, he's basically made a paper. And then here Kingen, I really like this as well from Hanwha Life, you know, like moving in and out to ensure that there's no angle to maybe drag someone away, to somehow make it out of that situation. Not going to be the case. There's a slight gold lead for DK, but Hanwha Life with a composition that is going to be so strong in straight front-to-back team fights, I think they're still going to be feeling great, and we'll see what happens when the 5v5 kicks off. That, to me, is going to really give us an idea as to how this is going to go.
Oh boy. Nice kind of poke damage, yeah, does come in. At the end of the day as well, I mean, this might just come down to execution. This hasn't been the cleanest game, I should say, I've ever seen of League of Legends, so, you know, it might just come down to who's going to make fewer mistakes in this one with some of the picks we have seen. Nice little zap. Zeri can still do that. You'll keep most of your health compared to old Zeri.
Remember, oh, Showmaker?
And now...
That's the reset, but yeah, doesn't want to, and realistically shouldn't risk. Remember when Poke Zeri was a thing?
Yeah.
I remember that.
With
that was
the zaps.
Yeah, that was a time. Yeah. Viper actually ends up doing them. He actually ends up out-damaging Skarner.
Remember Nidalee in, what was it, Season 1? You just go mid-Nidalee, AP, and you just actually nuke people down, and they don't get to play the game.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
Back then, people,
remember Corki?
That was very recent.
Yeah. Just spanning the course of time here in League of Legends. Some things never change.
Zoe really had our moments as well.
Oh, yeah, that was a rough one. That's when Chovy actually had the season where he had like 108 kills and 0 deaths or something.
Yeah, this is...
He had like 108 KDA, literally.
Really what we're learning is that people just hate Poke. That's really...
It's just not very interactive, right? It's like, okay, well, that guy just hit me from across the screen. I barely even saw him. Like, even as a pro gamer, you're going to be hit by some of that stuff. So, here we go. Doran being chased down by the Tristana. Rock's going to miss. He's still on the run, but the jump does come in, and now we've got Nidalee making her way over. Lucid and Showmaker putting 2 and 2 together, and they take down Doran, who said, I'm Skarner, I can do anything, but not this time.
Showmaker with Kraken Slayer and Navori done actually has, especially if he can just keep getting the reset on his Z, an immense amount of damage. Lucid picking up the kill I actually really like, because I think that having the solo AP source on your team further accelerate, even though it's an Italy who obviously can struggle in team fights to make the most use of the gold, is something that makes the itemization for Hanwha Life a decent amount harder. Do have Hanwha Life and DK, I imagine, gearing up. Look at the vision control towards the bottom half of the map. I just want to draw your
It's
attention.
very pretty. It's very
It's very evenly
symmetrical,
spaced.
right?
Yeah.
It's very.
Man.
You don't see that very often.
No.
It's almost like they have 2 lanes of wards. So they've got 1 layer, and then even if you scan through the first layer, they've got another layer.
Can they approach though? That's the main question coming in.
Well, eventually, just pushing in as a team, able to clear out a lot of the vision here was DK.
It's a really big moment.
Yeah.
Both teams really want this Drake.
TP already coming in from Zeka, who is level 14. Hasn't had a lot of big moments in this game, but this could be his moment to shine.
Kellen is still only level 7.
Yeah. Half the levels of
landing.
Zeka, somehow.
It's actually Pocahontas that ends up being more impactful, at least for now.
Yeah. We saw 1 spear hit Doran, I think. He doesn't seem to care. There's a big push in the bottom lane, but these teams aren't going for it. Kellen's going to hook the wall, and now he's in a lot of trouble. Down he goes, flash in from Doran. Not even necessary, looking for the impale, but now they already got 1. They're looking for a second. King in. He is Cassante, but he is also dead. And that is going to be 2 kills in favor of Humble Life Esports, as we did see the Dragon also going their way.
Drake going over as well.
And Baron.
It's the reluctance of DK there, and yeah, they had a huge wave that was pushing in towards bot side, but Showmaker should be able to catch this one on top, but they don't have any control there.
I like
It's
this.
gonna go
Humble
so
Life.
quickly. Well, Kingen is gonna be here in about 15 seconds with the TP.
Yeah. They just have so much burst on this
They're
Baron.
low.
The damage is insane, but it's still 5v4 in this scenario, so they can turn if they want to, but the hook comes in, and maybe it's not a good idea. Delight is going to be isolated. Now Showmaker is going to start up the Baron for them. Now we got a TP coming in, and now it's 5v4 in favor of DK.
I don't know about Lucid tanking though. Kellen as well, already taken low.
Yeah, this is getting pretty messy. Okay, they're going to hit the Baron again. They decide to go for a Chain of Corruption. He's going to miss.
He has his ult as well. This might just be a 50-50.
All right, here we go. We got a blast cone as well. Not that he needs it, but it's going to be Kellen into the wall again. He goes down, and Peanut is going to be isolated by Amy, who takes him down. No jungler right now. As the damage is coming in, and DK should be able to get this done. They take down the Baron at 22 minutes.
Oh, Hanwha Life, they're going to be feeling rough around that Baron call. Just getting the Dragon as well as 2 kills could have been enough, but no. So this setup is great because DK needs to go in, but you can only engage on the Light and Doran, which obviously isn't going to work. So Kelly instead just kind of stands there and ends up going down. Kingen crucially gets his gate interrupted, so he doesn't get to make it out of the fight. But we're 20 minutes in, right? Like, Baron is actually a really big deal this early on. It was buffed recently, and then the ult onto Peanut, the hook hitting.
This is the Hunter Baron as well, right?
Yeah.
I believe it's doing so much damage.
Well, you
to
can
them.
see here as well, like both Kellen and Lucid tank it only for a little bit. And then here, because of the fact that it's 5 versus 4, the ultimate doesn't hit anyone. And the heal from the Nidalee, I think, in these situations actually ends up being quite good. And then look at aiming. Because Peanut is going to try and go for the 50-50. Ends up getting hit, I think, by his spear. And then the W from aiming, so he's just going down. And then the explosion is already enough to get Doran low. And then the spear from Lucid ends up closing it out. And now, DK, this is the moment they needed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty huge turning point. I thought maybe the damage would be enough with Zir and a Kha'Zix, but absolutely was not. It was too early on, as you mentioned, and DK are getting a lot of wins on the map. They're trying to chip away at some of these inner turrets, but so far, just both of them standing here for now. We saw, you know, some stuff in the picture-in-picture as we were watching the replay. King was taking some poke down, but as it stands against this Baron buff, Humble Life Esports, even with their wave clear, are going to take a bit of damage, as it is going to be inevitable. Looks like Showmaker should be able to get this bottom inner. And
yeah.
Cannon just barely, not going to get the mid one.
That one will fall for sure as well, though, as aiming is just taking matters into his own hands. This time around, DK, now LDR done. Even Doran, I think, isn't going to be able to take that much of a beating. Showmaker being so much consistent damage throughout this, and they're going to need to find a Heal Mary engage. Delight has his flash available. DK, they've been in this position before.
Yeah. And the poke that's coming out from the spears as well is doing a number to Doran. Yeah, it's pretty rough here, the amount of damage that they are taking, but this Baron buff, it's only got 20 seconds left. They might look to push one more wave in, try to take out a third inner turret, and leave it at that. It's still very early on, so getting you know, an inhibitor at this point, they would need to wipe HLE Esports to actually get that done. So yeah, they're just gonna back away and try to prep for the Drake that is coming up here in 40 seconds.
Should be able to get that as well. I think Hanwha is going to say, guys, it's fine. We can let them have this Drake. It's only a second Drake. Doesn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Baron buff, big for DK. Got them a sizable gold lead, but not enough to break the game. Inhibitors, crucially, are still up for Hanwha Live. And I take it back. Hanwha Live, they are wanting to play for the 5v5, for soul points, which is definitely a big risk that they are taking, given how strong DK look. As of right now, when you look at item finishes, that LDR in particular, I think going to be huge. If aiming can not be caught by any of the CC in these fights. Does have Flash, does have Cleanse available as well. Him and Showmaker gonna have to do it here.
Yeah, the double LDR is just gonna chew through that front line of Delight and Doran. Speaking of which, Doran TPing in onto this. The burst is going to be pretty big from the Kha'Zix on this Drake. Let's see who does get it. Yes, it will be the Kha'Zix. The chain comes down onto Kingen, but HLE Esports not looking to try to fight this one head on. They're just going to back away for now, and DK will let them get away with it.
Spears aren't hitting. Poke isn't there, and for Kellen, he's the solitary engage, but it's really hard. Again, if Doran and Delight standing in front, engaging on the Skarner is only going to end in a very bad time for whoever stands directly in front of him. HLE Life still holding on. That is a big out, right? Be having access to the possibility of a Hextech Soul with particularly Azir and a Lethality Varus. Absolutely insane. And his first series, Valdez, going the distance.
Yeah, it's pretty much anybody's game at this point. Like, yes, DK have a pretty sizable gold lead, but double Hextech Drake in the Infernal is going to feel nice for HLE Esports. And again, I said it, you know, it feels like 15 minutes ago, but it might just come down to execution because it hasn't been the cleanest series. It's been very back and forth, a lot of picks and a lot of mistakes. I praised Kellen early on for his Nautilus play, and after that, it's been all just not great. He is going to flash away, and he will survive. But yeah, some of the hooks have just not been landing for him in these team fights, and that's kind of the hard part as Nautilus because, you know, you can be the game breaker, you can get the huge pick, or you can hook into a wall and die immediately because you're just not that tanky. So it is very much a feast or famine sometimes if you are playing Nautilus, and so far, Kellen has struggled quite a bit.
Seeing as well DK, I imagine looking, they always want to get to an objective first. We saw that last objective as well. If they're not the one already setting up shop, denying vision, and getting either aiming or lucid poke in on the enemies, their composition just doesn't really work because people need to be low enough for Kellen to actually be able to go in, and them getting Tristana reset, being able to get aiming off to a good start of the fight. If they don't find any of that, just a consistent damage from HLE Life, Zeka in particular in these fights, level 16 now, really hard to reliably deal with. Baron is up. I imagine both teams will be a little bit more respectful after the previous debacle. As I say that, you can use this as a pressure tool as well, right? T1 is obviously the best example, as Kingen even is, as Cassante needs to be a little careful.
Yeah.
But he's just buying space so that Showmaker can clear wards in the pit.
Yeah. You mentioned T1 with the Barons. I mean, they still, I feel like, take some of the biggest risks with some of those plays, but I do like how a lot of the teams in the world have really just kind of learned from that example, and it feels like a lot of teams are doing it now. They're just like, yeah, this is the way it goes. A lot of us can take down this objective really fast, and as long as we're clean with it, it's not that risky. Keyword being as long as we're clean with it. So let's see if DK can be clean with that, as the damage they have on this Baron is pretty insane. Peanut's still nearby. They need some vision though, as he's gonna get it with this W. It's just gonna be a flip. Oh, and there's too late, as it does go the way of the Nidalee, as Kellen unfortunately will be the food once again for HLE Esports. But it's a Baron now in the hands of DK.
This time around, DK gonna try and use that to set themselves up for inhibitors. If they can remain in control of the map, Hanwha Life not going to be able to find flanks on the Kazakhs. Not just going to be able to take these objectives, as it really is, I think, caught Hanwha Life a little bit off guard. How quickly they were able to get through this, as yeah, unfortunately for Callan, ends up getting hit by Viper's ult and then impaled and dragged through the wall to Skarner's lair. Not ending well for him. Peanut trying to get in there, but again, if there is a little bit of distraction, I think he might have had an opportunity. Not going to be the case. This should also lead to a second Drake, realistically, for DK, as Hanwha Life into a Baron buff should not be able to approach, but we'll see. DK's objective control outside of the Barons has been a little bit hit or miss.
Yeah. And Showmaker's been doing a really good job of pushing out that top lane and really putting a lot of pressure up there. Before joining in the fights, we've seen him up there like 4 or 5 times, just attacking so fast. We know the pressure that Tristana can push onto these lanes, so he's doing that. He's immediately getting over to his team, setting up the waves to prepare for the objectives.
Oh, they're a little bit too early. So Hanwha, wanting to try and contest for the Drake, might end up losing their mid inhib here. DK, they are spreading themselves a little bit thin.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but still able to take out this inhibitor turret pretty much for free. Now they need to back up onto this Drake. Let's see if they can get here on time. Peanut, once again, going to be spotted over here on the right side. Going to lose his Edge of Night. And now, he's doing some damage to this one, but it does look like Hanwha Life Esports does want to go for the 5v5 team fight. They want Doran and Delight in the front line.
Look at the poke. DK!
Yeah.
I don't know if they can get to the dragon.
It's looking pretty rough for them. I mean, they really need to deny a Hextech Soul right now. They're ahead, and they have Baron buff, but it doesn't seem to matter. It's still the team fight in favor of Hanwha Life Esports. They take down Kellen again, as he will be the food once again for Hanwha Life Esports. And now against Hextech Soul, they just got a Baron. They just got control of the map, and yet they're losing every other objective.
Oh, DK. Hanwha Life just woke up and take their lunch money. Either try and push further right for the mid lane, at least get the inhibitor and just force Hanwha Life to respond, and then as Hanwha Life rotates over, you'll be fine. That's not the case. And Peanut around on the flank just takes over the objective again, and it's Delight continuously starting these plays, and it really does feel like every single time DK just isn't willing to pull the trigger. And I do think that a lot of that does come down to the fact that there is a giant people yoinking scorpion that can literally just walk up. Like, what do you do?
That's his name, actually.
Literally giant.
Giant people yoinking scorpion.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Can yoink over walls, can yoink you into the realm.
Elder flip. That's what we're heading towards.
That's Challengers, baby.
That is, in fact, Challengers, baby.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to get that, because obviously when it comes to Dragons, Hanwha Life have been way better.
It just feels like this game, you know, we talked a lot about this matchup between DK and Hanwha Life Esports, and it's a new split, it's a new situation. DK, it does feel like they do look a little bit better in terms of their coordination, and they have been able to roll some of these leads pretty nicely, but at the end of the day, it does look like similar issues that they had in the past, where it's like, okay, the coordination is just not as good as Hanwha Life Esports when it comes to these late game scenarios and team fights where Hanwha Life will have their number, and they kind of counter DK as a team in that sense.
I also think it's just confidence, right? They're just, they have the tools to engage.
Yeah, that's always been the problem for them.
Well, and again, I think in this case also having a tank that can stand in front and not be afraid to be engaged on is quite used. Kingen.
Kingen says, I am Cassante, the original OP top laner that can do everything. And he is trying to exert some pressure on the mid lane.
Look at him taking damage.
Need to take a little bit there.
So DK is going to probably get Baron again.
I mean, I don't know.
And then they...
I'm not even sure that they will.
And then they leverage that into...
It's too spread apart, too. I mean, you can use the tail end of the Baron buff, perhaps.
Well, realistically, if you get Baron, you get it like, what, 2 minutes away?
Yeah.
From when Elder will spawn, which is enough time. But DK's Baron, Rebel Baron power plays have been pretty lackluster. right? They lost the soul.
Especially that last one.
Yeah, they lost the soul. They
Bit of an
didn't
issue
even
there.
get a single in-hit.
Yeah.
And we do see that they're continuously looking to try and collapse into someone, because they can kill everyone in a very short amount of time. Wait, it just...
So,
Oh, they just
Life
keep going.
Esports is just out of position here. This is going to force a
Oh,
TP.
that's big. That's a big cooldown. That means
Yeah.
the Showmaker in the side lane can actually play for that topside turret.
Or one of those things that's happening in this series where it just feels like somehow they just got priority in bot and push and force a TP. Generally not something that happens very often.
Hextech Soul is just... Oh, that's a long time to wait, friends. Not gonna lead to anything, but Hextech Soul for both Lethality, Varus, and even for Kha'Zix, man. Like being able...
What do you mean for the Skarner? Yeah, so Life Esports are going to start this.
It's gone.
And yeah, this is what I was talking about. I wasn't even sure that DK would just get it because the vision is very even. In fact, Life Esports had position. The timing of them, you were just saying, you know, they stayed very long on the bottom side to try to catch a Skarner, but it didn't pay off. They were out of position, so Life Esports just stroll into the Baron pit and take down the Baron.
Well, I know about this one for DK.
All right, Kellen gonna hit a champion. Delight in a bit of trouble. The death charge is gonna come in here and just delay Delight, but that doesn't do all too much. Kellen also nearly dies to Viper, who has been so strong on this Varus poke. And you can see this push from the Baron is incredibly strong. As you mentioned before, that Baron buff is going to, in fact, link up to when they go for the Elder. And that will be the look here for the side of Life Esports.
Look at it. Look, this is playing into Hextech from behind is such a nightmare. And I want to again reiterate the vision control that has been found by Humble. Look at the top side. Like that.
Yeah, that's...
Most of that was up when they did the Nash. So they felt so safe. They were 100% aware of everything that was happening. And yeah, you have about to hit 6 items Zeri, but if you can't use it, if you're not finding a single fight, what's the point? We called for the Elder flip. I don't think we're getting an Elder flip if DK just never ever gets to the objective at any point. There's double Edge of Night, there's a Skarner, there's Zeka with Flash, and his stopwatch available, and then there's Rel, who honestly might be your best target, which that's not... I mean, it's not a good thing, Valdez.
She's not that tanky. I mean, it depends on if she hits the Magnet Storm onto multiple, of course.
Sure.
But if she gets caught out, you could definitely find an angle. Now, this is a kind of a strange one. They're trying to push up to the Elder, and Life Esports should have a decent idea that they're in here. Doran trying to clear out some of this vision, but yeah, the mid inhibitor should go down. There it goes, as this Elder is now live. And Doran, he's like, okay, we know they're in here. I mean, they've got to be in here. As he's looking for someone, he's so incredibly tanky as Kingen gonna get in. The ult comes in, and yeah, that's that pick, but oh, the knock-up.
No damage!
Onto Delight means the spear misses, and the 280 carries just weren't there the whole time. So they were trying to turn, but there was no damage. As now the chain comes down onto Kingen. He is Cassante, but he will have to flash away. And this Elder Drake, it is burning down. DK, you need to get into the pit. You need to do something. As the hook comes in, the damage of the light is actually huge, but same onto Kellen as Impale is going to miss from Doran, but still Kellen goes down. As this Elder is still alive. The poke is coming in.
It's a flip!
The 280 carry gets the way of Lucid. He's able to take down the Elder. And with the 280 carries, they're bringing it up, and now TP into the base.
Look at the base!
TP into the base. It might be happening. Life Esports, they want to end this game right here, right now. Nobody come back, but there is Showmaker.
Showmaker's there!
Showmaker's there. He will stop it. But the Elder buff, ooh! Okay, Lucid will survive. All right, okay. 2 minutes on the Elder buff here for DK, and they survive.
This is the first game of the... This is the, first series of the split.
I wasn't ready for this, you know?
I was not ready for this. Which, this moment right here is probably going to make DK go, why didn't we do this before? You hook someone and they end up going down almost immediately. Doran completely whiffs, doesn't find anyone there with the Impale, and the Elder is actually doing a substantial amount of damage, right? Showmaker still full health, aiming full health, and it's Lucid that gets it. And I actually like the call from Hanwha here, which is try to end, right? Try to make sure that there's no way, because if you play into the actual Elder buff, you might end up losing the game. We'll see if that's going to be the case, but crucially, Lucid able to stay alive, aiming, actually ends up canceling it back as Showmaker makes it through. This is the window right now for DK.
It's only 1 minute though.
And also, you can't actually push through because there's so much wave clear and you don't have Baron buff. But you can, like, you can't even turn it into a Baron.
The Elder itself is not enough. I mean, if they were able to wipe everybody and end the game, sure. Then the Elder could have been the game-breaking buff and you just win the game from there. But that's not what happened. So we're 40 minutes into game 3, and we might have 10, 15 minutes more.
What
I mean,
about,
it just depends on how this game goes.
What about second Elder flip, Veldas?
You know I love my second Elder
Oh.
flip. It's my favorite part.
First Elder flip is not bad, but second
It's
Elder
like the
flip.
appetizer, you know. I've seen it enough times in challengers that I'm like, okay, you know, Elder flips, pretty cool, pretty cool. Second Elder flip though is
빨강팀의 포탑이
that's my
파괴되었습니다.
stuff. And yeah, it was kind of funny we were talking about in that team fight. It felt like DK finally realized, like, hey,
We have a lot of damage,
we're not that
guys.
far behind. We have a Tristana with nearly 6 items.
also
We have a Zeri with 6 items.
I want to highlight, I really love the little indicator that we have here. It's gone now, but there was actually a little indicator for Elder buff.
Yeah, the little
the
white,
left.
the white box, or
Yeah.
the purple box around the portraits. Yeah.
Oh,
We have Omega strong highlights if you have Exodia,
I can't wait to
which
see
is
that.
Baron and Elder. So
Look at the LCK. Bringing new stuff.
know?
I'm sorry we didn't notice earlier. I've been distracted by the game.
yeah, unfortunately, you know, the game was just really good. So no, great job production. Love it. As now Kellen, look at this. He hits a hook. He gets the roll. And he dies. So the 2 supports will go down. But man, at least they're pulling the trigger. At least they're looking for these team fights. King and
Showmaker.
spot here. Peanut looking for the slow, and he's gonna get a huge one. Onto both Kingen and onto aiming. But oh, that impale was so close to aiming.
Showmaker.
Oh my.
I don't know if they can. I don't know if they can go for Nash. Showmakers are going to try and end the game. The
Yeah.
TP comes in.
TP, and that should be enough. Spear not gonna hit, as this game is really up in the tempo here. Aiming, okay. All right, that's a lot of damage. As a knock up here on Adoran. He is isolated, and they do have the damage. He presses his ultimate, aiming finally does it, and they take down that damn Scorpion King. As the poke is still coming out here from Viper, still looking to keep this Baron alive for his team. And he will. Peanut.
Oh, he's so dangerous at this point in time. Has Hextech as well.
Peanut.
Peanut is dead!
What? He knew they were there. He knew they were in the bush. He had his ult available, and it didn't matter. So now it's going to come down to Viper, and they're going to wait.
The Hextech Soul and the Drain. The arrow.
They wait for
not
the arrow.
happening.
Yeah, Calinsari's able to see it. They just wait for the damage, and that's it. I mean, the Baron goes down to DK. The game is not over, but
They realized they're nowhere, Veldas! They just need to hook. And I thought, you know, can't hook the line. Well, guess what? You can. And yeah, sure. We end up getting the immediate trade. Kellen ends up going down as well.
I love this from Peanut getting the angle for his W evolves. And he has Hextech Soul, so they're just basically immobile.
Yes. But then here, crucially, Showmaker, with actually a great play on the map, forces Zeka away. That's so much damage gone. And then here, in the tank-off, in the fight for who is most broken, Kingen is like,
There can only be one.
watch me!
Yeah, I mean, I like what Doran was doing. He basically chunked aiming for half his health as a tank in the top lane who's only building tank items.
Look at that, it's a purple border. I want to see Exodia.
Purple border.
I don't know if they're gonna get it. I still don't, like DK, they got Baron, but there's no inhib down.
Yeah.
We already know that they're probably not gonna be able to actually utilize this buff. Also, want to shout out Zephyr being bought by aiming. That's a very new item.
Yeah.
Des can talk about it. We have more pressing matters. Stay!
There we go again. Kellen, he finds his support opponent, but
He's
now
alone!
he's alone over the wall. This is a very awkward spot, and Doran's like, yeah, no, you got to get away from me.
The light was also alone!
And, ooh, that's hurting. That is burning down. Zeka's in a bit of trouble. That was one spear. What?
The light!
The light, no! Oh, boy.
Aiming's on the ward. Aiming's on the ward.
This is getting out of hand.
Oh, the
okay.
Hextech Soul. Kellen, he's going to look for the engage!
He's Viper! He fights Viper! And Viper will eventually go down, but Showmaker does as well. And oh, the Zeri in the backline! Gonna take down 2 in
They're gonna do it!
They're gonna do it! They're gonna win game 3! They take a huge team fight! Kellen finally finds the angle, and aiming finally sends it into that backline, and they get the job done.
And it was a topsy-turvy game. It was a topsy-turvy series as a whole, Valdez. DK gonna get the win here to start off the season.
Wow, very, very close stuff. And it wasn't the cleanest, but it was a lot of fun, man. This was a great series to start us off. GG, DK will take the first series of LCK Summer 2024. And able to get the first series win over Humble Esports this entire year in this matchup. Lucid, they give him the first pick in Italy, and he's able to make it work.
That steal on the Elder could have happened on any champion, but in Italy, they put the faith in the player that had so many ups and downs. And I want to reiterate, this was a very hard-fought series. I think we still see a lot of the weaknesses that DK had in spring. But the fact that they're able to win a late game against Homa Life Esports, I do think is remarkable, as I actually had a tough time voting for POG to me the steal.
Oh, it's Lucid.
You know I went Lucid. Don't worry.
You don't even need to pretend. Like, this is fine.
Hey. But hear me out. I think that Kingen in particular, even though his KDA might not reflect it, ended up being huge as well as Showmaker. Happy Showmaker. I'll sign up for that any time of the day.
Yeah. Let's see, aiming. What has he got? All right.
Cameraman MVP.
Cameraman got shot. And yes, that's Lucid once again. All right, Kellen. It's just Kellen things. Gonna give us a nice little cute pose and a wave. And that signs his summer winners, DK. We'll see about that. But a nice start for them. That's for sure. And yeah, man, this was so back and forth. I thought Homa Life Esports had it when Zeka TP'd into the base. I thought he was going to end it, but Showmaker actually got his back off in the brush, and that's what stopped that. And, man, it just felt like both teams were so scared of really pulling the trigger at many times. We saw no big Azir divides really in this game. It was a lot of, like, both of the tanks just butting heads, and that's kind of how fights got started, or, you know, a hook finally landed in late game, and the AD carries were able to send it. But, man, this was so back and forth.
Cool, this game really went the distance, and the previous ones both were kind of stomps. The second one was obviously a bit more back and forth, but I do think that once Homa got control, it felt like there was no way out. And us of little faith, when the Skarner was left open, were reminded that there is another. There is another, Valdez.
It was foretold before Skarner was here with us. We had another. And yeah, the Cassante did some crazy stuff in this one as well. But I mean, Delight having some nice engages. Again, it just felt like both teams were so scared to really send it, except Doran, who's Skarner, so he kind of
He did do
sent
a
it
whole lot
many
of sending
times. Although he did die in this play eventually. But this is the Elder moment. This is where Lucid picks up his POG, where he secures it, because he was having a great game up until this point. He was 4-0-2. And he was very scaled up. He got that early gank onto the top lane as well, onto Doran, made him not quite as big of a threat. And that was kind of Kingan's moment there. Finds Doran, who's trying to poke down an AD carry his Skarner. Peanut did this.
야 이거 나
That
한번 뽑아볼게.
happens.
야 리스크 주고 야 레이 피었다.
What happened here?
나 이거 큐스택 쌓고 이거 걸 수 있으면 그냥 걸게.
I don't think that ended up being the decider, but it's still like 40% of Viper's health.
Yeah, because then Kenyan gets the Hex Flash over the wall and he hooks Viper. So, you know, maybe he survives here. I'd say like he probably does until aiming kills him and it takes like two more autos. They're just saying like we won this, send this. Lucid's so happy. This is going to be a scary team if Lucid is very consistent and actually carry from the jungle. So, you know, we weren't 100% sure if he could do it. We saw some glimpses at the end of spring, but maybe summer is the summer of DK. If they can turn these wins in series against really strong opponents, I mean, it's not easy to beat Hanwha Life Esports. They did not drop a lot of series in spring. And DK get the job done. There was only one person who believed in D plus Kia. It was Chronicler. Yeah, all of us are terrible and wrong, and only Chronicler gets it. So how did you do it exactly? What was your secret to getting this prediction right?
So I had an inkling it might go to an Elder flip.
Are you the next pony?
No, and I don't.
10 out of 10?
Let's throw it to the desk.
10 out of 10 for this week?
I'm sure they have a lot to say about it. I'm happy though, because you know when Lucid's doing well, I'm a happy man.
Yes, Lucid looked very happy there. But either way, guys, we're done here for this first series. The next one will be Nongshim versus FearX, which will also be very fun, BNK FearX. But for now, let's send it over to the space and see what they had to say about that series.
Thank you very much. This is Dear for the POG interview translation, joined by Showmaker and Lucid on the side of D plus Kia, who just defeated Hanwha Life Esports. Congratulations!
네, 개막 첫 번째 경기부터 멋진 승리를 장식하셨는데요. 승리 소감 먼저 들어보겠습니다.
What an incredible victory for the first day of 2024 LCK Summer. How do you feel, Showmaker? Yeah, I'm able to secure our first victory against Hanwha Life Esports. I'm really, really happy that we're all able to celebrate with the team. And Lucid, yeah, we all consider Hanwha Life Esports as a strong team, and we knew that would be a challenge. And I believe that it was worth the victory as much as a hard game it was. So after finishing the spring season, preparing for the summer, it looks like you guys upgraded as a team. So what's something you tried to work on the most? I think in terms of the coaching staff and the players, I think we just all worked really hard and that really contributed to it. I think something that we really improved on was our mistakes in terms of objectives. So I think we really tried hard to fix that. So do you think you found some progress? Yeah, since we won today, I think it was very successful. And Showmaker, let's talk about Game 1. You blind picked Skarner and led a 14,000 gold difference and took a dominating victory. And in different leagues, he definitely stands out with a bunch of highlights. So how would you rate Skarner as a champion? As you can see, Skarner is rated pretty highly in every team, I believe. And I think he is able to showcase a lot of highlights. I think every abilities that he has is quite OP, so I think you'll be able to look forward to seeing him more often from now on. And Lucid, in Game 1 especially, all 5 members played so cohesively as one today. So what contributed to your improved teamwork? I think before summer, we were trying to practice with keeping in mind how we can play better. So I think with the leadership that we got from the coaching staff, I think we're able to contribute to improving our teamwork. And in Game 3, both teams did not ban Skarner. But you guys took Nidalee as the B1 pick. I knew that even if we got Skarner, I mean, we would play really well, but I was also quite confident with my Nidalee, so I decided to go with Nidalee.
오브젝트 상황
And Game 3 was so intense as it went over 45 minutes. And every objective we were watching with palms full of sweat. So what was the game-ending moment? So I think we were contesting objectives. I think the first Elder fight that we won with Smite fight was pretty big. And taking the Skarner picking the Skarner off in the middle of the fight was really good. And I think we were able to really cohesively team fight in the end that actually led us to victory.
앞에서 다 말해가지고 네. 다 잘해준 것 같습니다.
네, 쇼메이커 선수가 사이드에서 운영
So
정말
I
좋게
think
하는 거 저희가 잘
we already
봤거든요.
mentioned that everybody
중요한 지점이
played
되지
really
않았을까
well.
싶습니다.
그때 바텀 라인이
So you
되게
playing in the
좋아서
side lanes
바텀
probably
가서
contributed a
아직은
lot
텔
too.
뽑으면 좀 발언할 때 유리하지 않을까
Yeah, I knew
싶었는데
that we're able to, if we were able to waste the Azir's teleport in the bot lane, that it would be really, really huge. So I think, yeah, it was pretty good. It worked out pretty well.
만만치가 않습니다. 우와,
And up
꽃보다
next,
딥기. 이거 언제적 드라마? 제가 중학교 때 들어봤는데 혹시
looks like
보셨어요?
it says D plus Kia over flowers.
잘 기억
Have you watched this drama?
네,
No, I can't really remember. I know what it is though.
뭐 아무튼 다음 상대도 만만치가 않습니다.
What a
KT
funny
로스터랑
fan
맞붙게
sign.
되는데
And
스프링
up
내내
next, you will
득점을
face KT
펼쳤잖아요.
Rolster, who you've been neck and neck with all spring season. So what will it be like this time?
보시는 분들도 되게
Yeah, when it comes to
좀 손에 땀을
KT,
쥐시면서 볼 것
every
같은데
match, every game is so hard, and I feel like we get so sweaty playing against them. But we will make sure that we stomp them this time.
그럼 마지막으로 디플러스기아의 개막전 승리 오늘 정말 많은
Lastly,
팬분들이 오셨고 막 이제 응원도 크게
There's so
해주시고
many
계신데요.
fans cheering
팬분들께
for you
앞으로의
today.
각오를 좀 부탁드리도록
Shout out to the
하겠습니다.
fans and
루시드
please
선수
share
먼저
your goals and
부탁드립니다.
resolution.
오늘부터 개막 시작인데 첫 경기 되게 강팀인
Yeah, today was the match opening day
앞으로
for
남은 경기들
the
잘할
summer
자신
season. I think we were able to get off a good start, which is great. And I want to make sure that we keep it
네,
going.
정말 크게 화이팅을 외쳐주셨고요. 쇼메이커 선수도 부탁드립니다.
일단 오늘
And Showmaker.
이제 많이 찾아와 주셔서 환호성도 많이
Yeah, a lot of
질러주시고
fans are here
열심히
today.
응원해주셔서 되게
We heard how
좋은
loud you were
팬분들한테
today.
많은 응원을 받고 있다는 거에 대해서 되게 행복하다고 느꼈고
I
네,
feel like
앞으로 시즌
I'm very
진행하면서
grateful
더 열심히
that there are so
나아지는
many
모습
good
보여드리도록
fans
하겠습니다.
out there that are so
다시 한번
supportive,
승리
and I want to
축하드립니다.
deliver good results for all of you guys to pay it off. And that's the end of the interview with Showmaker and Lucid of D plus Kia. Now passing it back to the space. Thank you.